It's Big Monday, but I'm not sure I'm going to have Big Mike or Big Cuz. But what we do have is more fallout from the Nico Iamaleava Tennessee Volunteers debacle that went down over the weekend as we welcome on Big Dave Uiagaleilei and Ortiz Jenkins to talk all about it right now on Rise and Shine College Football. Good morning. Welcome back to Big Monday, Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's my co-host, Big Mike Boganowski. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Big Dog, what's up, man? How was the weekend?
What up, man? It was cool, man. It was cool.
Yeah.
Little football and a little baseball.
Little football, little baseball, little Crimson Combine. Not a bad weekend for most of us, huh? Not bad. Cool. Well, we're gonna obviously we'll get into talking a little bit about the combine here a little bit later, guys. But we've got a couple of special guests, and I want to kind of set up what we're doing here throughout the day. You know, I was on here the other night, Big Bogan, talking about Nico Iamaleava stuff, you know, and it's, you know, unless you've been living under a rock, the college football world has pretty much been rocked by this past weekend, the meltdown with NIL in Knoxville. Former five-star Nico Iamaleava officially being dismissed from Josh Heupel's Tennessee Volunteers after pretty much a wild series of events started Thursday and culminated in one of the biggest, I think it's probably one of the biggest stories in NIL to date. I don't know that it's going to stay one of the biggest for very long. I think it's signaling some future craziness, but it did all start when Pete Nakos of On3 Sports reported that Nico and his father were trying to renegotiate his $2.4 million per year deal to about $4 million. Apparently, Nakos called his father, Nick Iamaleava, to confirm, and Nick responded with a fiery tweet calling the reporter a bitch and claiming that the information did not come from inside the Iamaleava family. Fast forward, of course, to Friday. Nico skips Tennessee's final practice of the spring, and Saturday morning, boom, Heupel dismisses him from the program hours before the orange and white spring game. Quite a bit happening right there, right? That's not even the end of it. Josh Pate then drops this little nugget, and let me just pop it up here and read it real quick, and then I'll get right back to having you up here. But where do I have it? Man, I had everything just right in order. Here we are.
Josh Pate went in last night, though. I watched
Josh Pate went in on him. He really did. And here's just a little of what he said was what they forgot. Yeah. Right. I thought he was going to mess around and cuss too. He said, what they forgot to tell us was that cats like Nico Iamaleava almost held out of a playoff game because they were trying to renegotiate contracts in the middle of a playoff run. He went on to say quite a bit more than that, obviously. But, you know, which that right there in and of itself is earth-shattering, right? But before we do talk about that, I do want to throw this next thing up there because I think that this is equally, it needs to be said, that this is what's coming from the other side. And we're not hearing a lot of what's coming from the other side at all. So I do want to throw this up there real quick. Let's see.
Reports had surfaced that he had not shown up to practices and that Nico had ultimately opened up negotiations in terms of what it was going to cost for him to play for Tennessee.
And that's false.
Okay,
They're lying. Tennessee's lying. And they probably like, damn, hope nobody comes up and disputes this.
Okay.
But they're lying.
All right.
And I know this is fact, not as
well, we know you know
speculation.
him. We know you know him, know the family or whatever. So go ahead, let us know.
My thing is this, right? So ask Tennessee when's the last time they spoke to anybody on Nico's side. Well, I'll answer that for you. January. So what are y'all negotiating? When was the negotiations taking place? When the last time y'all spoke to anybody on his side, it was in January. And here we are in April. So negotiations starting in January, there's been no more communication since then? Like, come on. And so is the reason about money, or is the reason about the system that you have offensively? You can't say that, huh, Josh Heupel? You don't want to talk about your offensive system and what you told him and what you were going to do, and you tried to call his bluff. I just don't like how they want to put these kids and paint them in a bad light. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you're not going to do it, just be up front so everybody can make a decision that is best for them. But when the player makes a decision that is best for him, now you want to lie and put out false narratives about the reason.
So you're saying it's about the offensive scheme. It's not about the money.
He going to get the money regardless. Whether he stayed at Tennessee or he hits the portal, he getting a lot of money regardless.
So there's definitely two sides. I've said this on the show the other night, Big Bo. There's three sides to every story. My side, your side, and the truth, right? Somewhere in between is what, I mean, and you can say whatever, you can kind of say whatever you want as far as who you want to believe. And I guess people are welcome to believe who they want. But in the end, I would just say that there's you're hearing a lot of stuff that obviously if they are flat out lying, and there's reason to believe that could even be true. I mean, why wouldn't they want to renegotiate it? I don't know. Why would you want to restart all this at the time? I don't know either. And in the end, do I think that the guy's worth $4 million? Probably not. Right? Probably not. But we can sit here and do this all day. The truth is it doesn't really matter what we think as far as whether they're worth it or not. It's only what the market says you're worth, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean,
early
so I'm not Team Nico. I'm not Team Tennessee. Like, I gives a shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just think the whole like this kind of broke Friday, right? When we were on the show last time about Nico, like,
yes,
not showing up to practice and he's holding out.
Show up. Right.
Yeah. So, like, if you watch that, dude, you can see, like, I wasn't paying attention to shit. Right. My mind was just scenarios, like what happens, how this is going to change. And that's what really fascinates me about this. And I mean, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of takes, right? Like, and I can get behind some. Like, I just felt like the time and the place that he tried to, like, if he did hold out against the playoff, threaten to hold out against the playoff game, like, that already like has got bad blood, right? Like, they already got Tennessee, and the coach is feeling some type of way. If nobody likes to be strong armed, right? Nobody likes to be leveraged, especially when, like, like the NFL, like, that's standard business, right? So it's the name of the game, right? This isn't college. This isn't the NFL. This is college football. This hasn't happened before, right? So obviously people aren't used to it and not gonna like it. Now, I'm not, like I'm saying, this is just my thought. Like, I'm not Team Nico, Tennessee, but I can see how Tennessee would be like, bro, you really trying to, like, strong arm me and hold out right before the playoff game? Like, where's the sense of team? Like, where's your pride in your brothers? Where's the commitment level? Like, he just showed that he's not bought all in, right?
Right.
And I when you somebody I don't know who I heard,
And
but
that's
like somebody
assuming
said
that's
this is
true.
like
That's of course
assuming
assuming
that's
that.
true. And
Yeah.
and when your recruitment is about money, you know what I'm saying? With like a lot of these kids are, that tenure with that kid's about to be about money. So don't get upset with the
Oh yeah.
kid and the family
If
and
you win them with
representation
money, listen. If you
if
win
if
them with
if
money,
it's
you lose
about
them with
money.
if you
Yeah,
win them
don't
with
don't
money,
get
you lose them
mad.
with money. Correct.
Like and that's why I think Tennessee is kind of tripping. They knew what he was or what it was coming out of high school, right? So like don't get mad at Nico if he want more money and he think he's worth more money. Now, is he worth more money? Who knows? That's not me to decide. To me, I don't think that I would pay him 4 mil a year. Um, but that's not for me to decide. That's the market. The market's gonna decide that. So, I don't know, man. Like I just Josh Pate said it great last night. Like nobody wins in this situation.
No, you're
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it like that until I saw it. And I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, Tennessee's out. Tennessee's out of quarterback. They gotta develop somebody new, right? Nico's not training with his receivers. He's
Sure.
searching for a new team. He's got to learn a new offense, and who knows? It could have negative downstream effects, right? It's just, and I mean, but hey, as an Oklahoma fan, a fan of Oklahoma, and looking forward to them on the schedule, you know what I mean? Hey, good for us. That game's just looks a little bit easier. You never know. They might get a stud out the portal, so who knows? But as of right now, like,
Well, I think it all depends. They think that they've got studs behind him. You know what I mean? They think they've got studs
Mhm.
behind him, but you can bet your ass that there's going to be portal movement on this. And I think a lot of people are talking about it in terms of, okay, what's the ripple effect here?
Yeah,
Obviously, you can't be another SEC quarterback, but if you're somebody with a decent quarterback in the Big 12, like Arizona State, what are you going to do? And I'll tell you something. That's something we've already seen because ESPN reported on Saturday that one quarterback had already gotten more money from his school Friday after Tennessee's collective called third-party officials tied to him. Multiple sources have told On3 that they expect that ripple effect with non-SEC Power 4 quarterbacks around the country expected to receive raises in light of the Tennessee opening. You're welcome.
yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey, man, I've already seen K State Twitter like going in on Tennessee. Like I've seen it. I don't know if that's the quarterback you're talking about, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen
Well,
K State Twitter like
I'm not talking
firing
about a
shots.
specific. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about a specific guy. I mean, I could think that I was talking about you've got your guy over at Arizona State. Yes, you
yeah,
have obviously, hey man, I'm a fan of Avery. So yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why
yeah,
wouldn't you if you're Tennessee go and try to scoop him up? Maybe you give him what you didn't want to give Nico. I don't know.
yeah. I don't. I just
The money,
you
here's
know,
the thing, but something that TJ said at the end of that thing, and that was him, of course, on with he's got a show with LeVar Arrington that they do on the weekends.
yeah,
I mean, there's no reason to not believe what he's saying either, and it certainly makes you wonder. A lot of people are talking about how mid Nico is and all this kind of stuff, right? That he's a mid player and he didn't put up gaudy numbers. You know, he
yeah,
wasn't great, he wasn't terrible either. You know, they
yeah.
did get to the playoff, and so that's got to matter for something. By the way, that's got to matter for something.
I think it matters, but I think if you objectively sit back and look at the strength of that Tennessee team, right? It was obviously defense. And their running back, if I'm not mistaken, led the SEC in rushing. So I may be wrong about that, but if I may be misremembering that, but I feel like that's what I saw. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like I like part of me is glad, like I'm like, okay, I'm glad somebody tried to do this, right? And see how it played out. And then like I'm also glad like Tennessee did what they did, right? If that makes sense. Like I'm You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it was bound to happen, and somebody finally did it. And I think, you can negotiate contracts and those type of things, right? And I think the line was crossed when he held out of practice and skipped practice. I think that's I felt like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And you know, I'm a I'm an organization type of guy, right? Like, I didn't like it, in my time in the service, and I don't necessarily like it in general. Like, thinking that you as an individual are bigger than the organization, right? Like, the organization, whether you're there or not, will continue to move on and continue to function and continue to be an effective organization. And it's kind of narcissistic to think that you leaving, an organization, that organization is going to crumble and become ineffective. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and, being part of an organization, your job, your responsibilities are to make that organization better than when you got there and leave it in a better spot. Right. And, I've always preached that, like, don't be somebody else's problems, leave it better than when you got there and just continue to try to improve it. And I feel like that's part of the case too. That's part of Tennessee's, claim and why they said, all right, get in the portal. Because maybe they just felt like he wasn't about the team and he wasn't about the organization. And part of me is glad that outcome happened, because I feel like that's the most underrated and the important part of college football is the team and the selflessness and the sacrifice and, bonding and, being able to, have that commitment. Like, it's just, I worry about today and, and how people are so about themselves and not about the greater good and, worrying about, like, I worry about, my people more than I worry about myself. So, you know, I just hate it for how society's turning. And it's if you like really look macro, right? You really look macro. Like, I don't like it, and we need to do better. Um, like, and I always go back to this: like, who is the adult in the room in that situation, right? Like, if I talk to my son about these things, right? And I always like I want to know what my son wants. Like, what is he thinking? What does he want? And like, if I stray from what I think is best for him, or like, just being uh just doing too much, essentially. Like, I want him to say, Dad, you're tripping. Like, have enough nuts to come to me and say, Dad, you're tripping. And he will. He's done it multiple times. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna go out of my responsibilities of being a dad, right? And being, your you're like mentor type thing. Like, I'm never gonna like make it about me. Like,
Sure,
what
sure.
I'm doing is to help him and
Well,
put him in the best situation. And I don't think that happened here. And part of that's on the dad, and part of that is on Nico for not saying, Dad, I don't want to do this. I don't know if
well,
he wanted to do it or not. I'm just saying, like, I would hope that he would say, Dad, I want to be at Tennessee. Let's stop. And I kind of got on my little rant right there because I got to roll out and I had some thoughts I had to get off real quick. You know
no,
what I
no, I
mean?
wanted you to do it. I wanted you to do it, and I mean, we should have Big Dave anytime now. I haven't heard from him
Yeah.
though, so we have Ortiz Jenkins coming on as well. So, I mean, yeah, man, I wanted you to get that out there and how you feel, and I can run through and talk to some of these folks in the chat as well. So get in there and check out and get to your appointment and hit us back when you get back out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll hit y'all up.
All right, man.
I'll let it.
All right. So he will be an example of what not to do. If I'm a Power 4 school, I'm offering like $2.5 million to Tennessee. All right. So I get what you're saying there, Shawnee. And I will say this. I will say this about that is that that's assuming that you don't have any competition for the guy. And I would tell you guys, everybody listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I would prefer that Oklahoma, if they were in need of a quarterback at the moment, which I don't believe they are, would pay $4 million for him. But what I'll tell you is this. Think about what happened just last week. Also on Wednesday, Thursday, right? We saw that BYU paid $3.5 million for 1 year of a basketball player from Baylor that averaged 11 points a game. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him to hit 4. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him to land somewhere in the 3 million area either. It just isn't. I know we can sit here and say all that kind of stuff, and you can. I love how we pocket count. We do all this stuff, and so many of us are such great stewards for our school and how much they pay out. It's hilarious to me. But I'm just telling you, it could happen. It could absolutely happen. And I would tell you that, hey, you don't think that BYU could afford to go get them a quarterback when they don't really have a quarterback? I mean, they made it work with smoke and mirrors last year because that guy can't throw. You know? You're going to tell me that USC can't afford to pay him? And don't get it twisted thinking, you've heard all this stuff about, oh, cool. We're going to have another guy in here real quick. Hold on real quick. Don't think for a second that somebody like USC, even though people are saying that Dan Lanning and Lincoln both called saying that, don't think for 1 second that they wouldn't do that. I would tell you that USC will absolutely do it. In fact, he may have called just so he could help push his ass out the door. I'm holding out coming on the show until Jason pays me $3 million. Yeah, $3 million, buddy. Not happening. Not happen. Okay. I put a stamp on him not getting $4 million from a school with a chance to win it all. Well, what if it was Notre Dame and Ohio State that were both wanting him, or Oregon, and throw Oregon into that mix if you want to? I wouldn't throw USC into it. But you're going to tell me that couldn't happen then? That they couldn't both decide? I mean, because here's the thing. If you look at Notre Dame, they're still going to be really good on defense. They're really good in the trenches. What they don't know that they have is a guy that can get the ball to the receivers that they have. And, I mean, and I don't know that it would end up working out. Coop, it's in there. I don't know that it would end up working out, but we'll see. But I'm just telling you, you look at it, Ohio State still has a lot of talent in there too. A lot. They got Jeremiah Smith still. You need a guy that can get him the football. I don't know that they got that guy. Do they believe in Julian Sayin? I don't know. Coop. Link is in there. Come on. Do you think he gets what he was getting, 2.4, maybe even 3? Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Saying looked good in the spring game for what it was worth. Yeah, listen, I get it. But we're talking about a guy that hasn't played a season. And if you're looking to go back to the playoff, maybe have a chance to win back-to-backs, I mean, if you're Ryan Day, do you not see if you can't pull that off? I think you probably do. Welcome into the show. Our boy from Unfair Sports, Coop. Eric Coop Cooper. What's up, my guy?
I've been waiting for this.
You've been waiting for this?
Jason, it was going to happen. At some point this was going to happen, right?
Oh,
we all knew. we all knew because it had to happen to a quarterback. You saw the Bear Alexander and stuff, and nobody really, I guess it had to happen to a quarterback at a pretty prominent school. And so
Sure.
For what happened for what just happened at Tennessee, I mean, it should set everybody a little bit on edge But I also think that it's a very, very good thing for, I guess it's good for Oklahoma. It's good for the other teams in the SEC because Tennessee just went down a notch. But, when you saw the UNLV quarterback and, the host of guys middle of the year last year opt out and hit to the transfer portal, mid-season, at that point, I think that we saw a good group of coaches kind of go, all right, there's certain things we have to be willing to do that might stretch the moral fibers of our being, and then there's certain things and lines we can't cross.
Hold up. Can I say something real quick before you go? If we're gonna do this love on hype
it's
stuff,
your show. It's your show.
I just want to ask you a question though, real quick. Do you think that it's beyond the realm of possibility that what TJ Houshmandzadeh said is true? That it wasn't just a money thing. In fact, they hadn't spoken about money since January. And he said that it had more to do with him wanting to change the offense than it had to do with anything. And so quite possibly it could be just about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Number one, does everybody remember the original? Does everybody remember the original Space Jam? You had the alien guy who said he was going to put Michael Jordan, he's going to play one-on-one games all day long and sign autographs all night long, and had the ball and chain around Jordan's ankle. And I mean, I think that there's some play to that too, because it's not like you've got professional agencies having conversations with these guys.
Sure.
These are like dudes who've been around the game and are, best friends of the family and uncles and just, that we all have that guy that we call Uncle something.
I think he does have representation aside from his pops, but I get where you're talking about though. Yes.
And so here's what I think is when you have all this going on and there's a little bit of the offense and there's a little bit of the, hey, we don't want to sign all these autograph sessions. And this was just going to come to this collision because when it all boils down, Jason, the NIL and what it was supposed to be and what it is aren't the same.
Of course not. No, they're not. And they're not going to. It's not going to change either.
But I do think that I don't have trouble. I mean, I guess I don't have an issue with a conversation happening between a quarterback and his team and saying, "Listen, I want to change a few things."
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, is it just the fact that our society and, most of these guys are being told that everything needs to revolve around you and we need to do this around you because you've got cats like Bill Belichick who, are going to look at Tom Brady and look at other people and just be like, you're going to do what I want you to do because I'm the head coach. And he's deserved that and receive that amount of clout. I think that Nico was in a spot right now to where if you were going to do it, this was the time to do it because I don't know if there were lofty expectations going into this year for Tennessee. And I think they just overplayed the hand. It's just an absolute just overplaying in the hand. I mean, all in all, just like I tell my kids, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Hey, look, and I said just because you can don't mean you should when we were talking about the playoff of weeks ago, right? I agree. I think that has a lot to do. What I'll tell you is, I don't know. There's a lot of things. There's little things that make you wonder how much of this is really true, though. And what I'll say is this: when it comes to the portal, think about this a little bit. We know as guys that cover OU that most of the guys that went into the portal from Oklahoma were told to go into the portal. Were they not? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we know that. But the problem is that when nobody else gets to hear about that because, number one, the player's not going to tell you that we went into that they told me to go into the portal because that fucks with their ability to get another place to play, right? And Oklahoma or anybody else, they don't want to tell you that they're telling guys to go get in the portal because that makes them look bad too. You know what I mean? Or for whatever they think it does or whatever. The truth is nobody wants to embrace the fact that it is an NFL model and that this is now we're playing for and the truth is these guys have every right to go and look for them. Now, do I love what is true about him going and asking for money? before the playoff game. Yeah, I don't love that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, if you don't think that shit's it was already happening, and Pate did say that he wasn't the only guy that this happened with, but if you don't think that shit's coming very soon, to where they are going to hold that shit as leverage to, hey, we're in the playoff. Guess what? I'm not going to fucking play unless you bump my salary tomorrow. And guess what? Are you going to win an Addy, coach? Hey, and this is where we start talking about, look, if you have collective bargaining, it's one thing. If you don't have collective bargaining, this is the fault. In the end, this is the fault of everybody but these players that we're all talking shit about right now. They're going by the rules that have been put in front of them. They didn't make a single rule. We talk about this a lot. Do I think they need to get paid? Yes. Do I think there needs to be some rules put in place? Absolutely. But they don't. Yeah. But the NCAA and these conference presidents are going to stop short of doing the right thing, just like they have. I do want to play this real quick. This comes from Ryan Clark. I just want to play this real quick. Listen, while it's easy to sit here and just assume that everything that the Vols are saying is correct and true about Nico Iamaleava, and it's easy just to call him greedy, let's take a look at what somebody like Ryan Clark, the host of the Pivot podcast and an ESPN personality, had to say. Quote, people want to say that the NIL and transfer portal era is ruining college football. It's not ruining college football, but what it is doing is destroying the good feeling that people used to have around it. Because the former president of the NCAA, Mark Emmert, and the NCAA wouldn't do what was right. They wouldn't give players the opportunity to earn money off their name, image, and likeness. And because they refused to do that, we now have a situation where Nico can see Carson Beck, who underachieved at Georgia, go make $4 million and say, oh, I want that. Here's the rest of what Clark had to say in his own words.
And if you believe somebody outside of Tennessee ain't told him that they're going to pay him more than what Tennessee is giving him, then you're out your mind. And so now, because Mark Emmert and the NCAA didn't do the one thing the NCAA was created to do back in the early 1900s by Teddy Roosevelt, which is to protect players, because they wouldn't do that, we now have a situation where you have people on the outside thinking Iamaleava is greedy because he wants more than $2 million or $2.4 million. Well, if that's what you're seeing in a capitalist era or in a capitalist society where there is no rules, there is no regulations, because the NCAA refused to do what's right, why is he wrong? And now you make the University of Tennessee, you make their football team, you make their head coach make a decision to dismiss this kid or make a decision to part ways with this kid, because at some point they got to put their foot down because you've given them no rules and regulations to say, okay, son, this is all we can do. This is all anybody can do. Now make a decision on what's the best place for you to grow, for you to learn, and for you to succeed in the future. And that's why leadership matters. That's why representation matters. That's why you got to say, if something is right, let's do our best to do the right thing. And I'm sure that Nico's going to end up somewhere and get a lot of money, but will that be the best place for him? And so now, in an era where these student athletes can capitalize off of who they are, they have to make sure that the people around them are not trying to capitalize on them. Because for them boys, hey man, go get your money and get all the money that you think you're worth. But it's sad that you don't feel protected enough, or you weren't protected enough. So making that decision on money can be the best decision for you to be the best man player going forward. Nico did the right thing. I think Tennessee did too. I just wish the NCAA and Mark Emmert would have did the same years ago.
I mean, I don't always agree with Ryan Clark on everything, but I'll tell you this. He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And Ryan comes from a standpoint to where he says some things at times that I passionately agree with, and then he says some things that I vehemently disagree with at times too. But the thing that I do agree is NCAA, this is I mean, technically on you. And you allowed I'll put it this way. Let's rewind into history. I had a boss one time in a sales job, Jason, and myself and another person were going after the same client. And as a boss, what I would typically do would be to bring both people in, hear the cases, and go, all right, so here, based off of my authority and what I hear, this is what I want. Well, this person didn't do this. What they did is they let us both say something and then looked at me and said, well, why should I give it to you? And then looked at her and said, why should I give it to you? And then she said, all right, you guys decide what to do. And that's kind of what the NCAA did, is they said, we're not going to do anything because we don't have the cash flow to sustain multiple legal battles. And so now there's a situation here to where you've got almost no rules or insight. And it's like if you walked into a game of freeze tag with a bunch of 5-year-old kids, like it would just be calamity and chaos because nobody really has the wherewithal to be someone who set up some guidelines. So yes, I agree with Ryan that the NCAA failed this. I think that Nico made a personal decision in a team environment, and it's going to hurt the team. And now I think it's going to hurt him. I also think that Tennessee saw a slippery slope presented to them, and if they didn't make a choice like this, somebody is calling tomorrow and saying, well, hey, guess what? I'm a little bit of a power running back, and we're doing more of a spread offense, and I would like to talk about, and then at that point, Jason, do you say, listen, running back, you're not as important as a quarterback, and so we're not going to tailor? Well, then that kid hits the portal, and then maybe one of his best friends is a wide receiver, or a tight end, or an O tackle, or the center. And so I think that just when you have all these situations, it's easy right now for us because it didn't happen to Oklahoma, so we won't be as we won't have the extended passion for this kind of like the Tennessee fans do. But I will say this is, if this happened here, and if this happened at Oklahoma to our starting quarterback, I think that we would be losing our damn minds much more than it is happening because it would directly affect us. But I also think that we've been waiting. There has been a party of folks with pitchforks and torches and waiting for this to happen because somebody, it was just more. So the people who want to bitch about what's going on now in college football, this is all the ammunition. All the ammunition we need. And so I would just say this is I don't think that either side is 100% one way or the other, right or wrong. I just think it ends up being a catastrophic situation for Tennessee, and it's now the entire college football world is waiting and watching because this might be a stretch and this might take us to a dark spot, but this is kind of a situation like what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson. They made a choice and it affected everybody else around them. Everybody lit them up. And so now what is it going to take?
Man, listen, if they're going to light him up like that, bro.
Well,
I don't know about that.
But you got to think about it though. It is people's passion around the NFL and college football are just different. And where I'm going,
they're definitely different. They're definitely different. But we're also talking about a lot of. We're talking about multiple rape, accusations versus a kid wanting to get more money, and that's assuming again that that's exactly what happened. Which I'm not sure that I'm ready to do that.
Well, I'm talking about the front-loaded contract, which changed the game and the landscape of everything. And I think that. And I agree with you, and Professor, I see you hopping in here, so we want to hit you in a second. But this is now going to be a situation to where I think that everybody has a moral high horse right now until in a workout your starter goes down, or until one of those really, really ambitious big money donors comes and says, I got $4 million right now for a quarterback, and you know who I'm talking about. And I think that that's now where the college football, environment is going to watch is what's next, because I think that the next decision will be just as polarizing, whether it's people blackballing Nico and him sitting out this entire year for the NFL draft, or whether it's you walk into a situation to where you've got a starting quarterback. Maybe like a Sam Levitt type of situation to where you have somebody go down and you are a quarterback away from being in the playoff. And it's not even national championship. It's to be in the playoff. So you're telling me that a Mike Gundy, you're telling me that the folks at Texas Tech, you're telling me that the folks in North Carolina and Bill Belichick, you're telling me all these cats, one of these guys isn't just looking for a story to basically give them a little smokescreen.
Come on, man. And that's exactly what I'm saying. The people that are saying that there's going to be collusion out there amongst this, it's one thing to do it in the NFL, like they did with Colin Kaepernick or but it didn't even work with Deshaun Watson in the NFL where they could collude to keep his ass out of the game, right?
No,
and so
all it takes is one person.
And you're gonna tell me that these coaches are all gonna stand on principle instead of worrying about maybe this is the guy I need to win these games because my job's always on the line, which they are. I mean, come on, man. There's somebody that's going to do it. And I would tell you there's going to be multiple teams. In fact, look at what you see on the screen here. No, that's not the one. K-State QB smoke with the Vols. We were hearing about that shit earlier. Yeah. Avery Johnson. You're going to tell me that no, there's no honor amongst thieves, and these guys are all thieves. They all are. Go ahead, Professor, jump in here.
What's up, guys? How are you guys? You hear me good?
Yeah, man. It's the Professor, the one and only Professor who, everybody knows and everybody loves. What's up, my guy?
Just driving to Mississippi. We took a vacation to go to the spring game. Kids had a heck of a time. Did confirm Billy Napier does watch High Top Sports, which is cool. So yeah, just a big weekend for High Top in general. And then we were live, and the news broke about Nico. I'm leaving you now, leaving you later. However you pronounce it, leaving Tennessee. I just feel for the fans.
Yes.
Pouring millions of dollars into the collective, buying jerseys, and obviously they have nothing to do with it. When it comes to players leaving and player retention, it just sucks for them because I know there's a lot of Tennessee fans that were excited about this year. And if it was one of our quarterbacks, we would be just as pissed off and disgruntled. The fans lose the most out of this whole ordeal. The logo is gonna, the University of Tennessee football is not shutting down overnight because one player decided to leave and hold them hostage for some money or scheme fit or what have you. It just sucks for the fans, truthfully.
It's Jason.
100% agree. No, I got you. Go ahead. Go ahead, though. Speak.
I'm just going to go with this, guys, is you saw the fans and you saw people already taping the jerseys, and there's no lack of talking points around this, and it's not over yet. And we've got a crystal ball, and I think that somebody's already put a crystal ball in for him to head to North Carolina. Bill Belichick doesn't care. I mean, do you think Bill Belichick is going to sit in front of the North Carolina fans and then be like, well, what about him opting out or wanting more money? He doesn't give a damn. He's got his people, and they're gonna make an offer. And at some point, Nico's camp is going to be fielding offers, and they're going to have to find out what's the best option, what's the best landing spot. But there are several programs across the country where if you say, hey, we're going to bring in a 5-star quarterback for the first time in program history, and you're going to have thousands of fans going, I'm good. Who? Nico. Oh, yeah, come on, bring him on in. There's a lot of fan bases that are going to be that way. And but at the same time, I mean, I also see that there are some folks saying that Tulane. So you can't tell me that if they make this decision and end up at Tulane that worked out well for everybody. That looks like a really, really bad situation. And so it's right now, like, if you're Nico, what are you thinking? Because I brought this up on our show last night, is we saw this with Caden Green. We saw the people around him make the decision, and he really didn't have much of a choice. And we always talk about these kids are 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're adults, and they need to make, grown-ass man decisions. But I don't even think that that's an actual reality for some of these kids, because they've got so many people. And what are you going to do? Turn around and stare at all your family members and tell them to go to hell? Because now all of a sudden you don't have a football team and you don't have a family to, help out with. And so I think that Nico's probably in a situation right now where he's going, I should be a quarterback for Tennessee right now, and now I may not have a place to play. So you got to put on the NCAA, you got to put on the people around him, and the person who's the one that's going to take the brunt of the of all this backlash. It's going to be Nico, and it's going to be Nico probably from this point until he does something to give another talking point.
Totally agree. We lost high top professor there. He's on the road. So, man, we'll definitely get him back on probably tomorrow night to talk a little bit more about this. But, I don't know. I think that there's a lot to it, man. And I know that we can go through some of these comments and kind of talk about it. But I think, the idea that I think Chrissy always got the best comments in here, saying that you don't believe that anybody offered him. You don't think he has any offer. If we are going to sit here and assume that he left for money, we're going to sit here and assume that you're going to tell me that he didn't have an offer before that they made this big move, when they've apparently been wanting to do this since December, but no money was out there. Nobody was calling. We know damn good and well that all these people are doing all this shit to get players. We know that we got a guy at Oklahoma that we know we need receivers, to make sure that we're healthy at that position. So you're going to tell me that Jim Nagy isn't out there calling up, the agents that he knows, hey, if you got a guy, let us know, and he gets in the portal, we got some money for that position. We all know better than that. And a guy like Lincoln Riley, of all people, we were just talking about that earlier, that apparently he was one of the people that called and informed Josh that he was shopping himself around. Okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe it is. And maybe he wouldn't do Josh that way. But I don't know that I believe that shit either, because I think if anything, he would have made that call just to push his ass out the door if he doesn't believe in Jaden Iamaleava.
Jason, here's how everything boils down to. You are now a candidate to be a GM for a major college program. The athletic department brings you in, everybody brings you in and says, all right, here's what you get to deal with. You have 100 some odd kids that are on this team. The majority of the ones who we need to circle as, must-haves are always a threat to leave. The head coach, the offensive coordinator, the D coordinator, they're always a threat to leave. So job is to put up your job. It's not even like an NFL to where you have contract parameters to abide by, and we can get into, other leagues here in a minute, but the NFL still hasn't gone to the, hey, I'm sitting out and, I want this go down. Typically that was wide receiver and running back behavior. Now these quarterbacks are getting the coin, the first opportunity possible. And it doesn't matter. You could be a quarterback in the NFL. You could show any viability for one season and get yourself millions of dollars going into the next year, because quarterback is so important. But with the college game, you are literally a risk for every single position across the offense and defense and the coaching staff for somebody just to call you and say, hey, I'm leaving at any point throughout the season, at any point throughout the year. And that's your job as a GM. So that's why these dudes are getting paid a lot of money, is because you have to basically look at let's go with 125 pieces and go, any one of these pieces could leave this very minute. Good luck.
Better have some guys on speed dial ready to rock and roll. And here's the thing. We can see, what is just Purple Orca. What did you just say? If someone offered, we would be talking about a team like Oregon. Only big name team is USC, and they ain't known for offering $4 million conference. Okay, maybe not, but they just now got a GM, and if they really believe that the only thing, and I think that they're just delusional enough at USC to think that the only thing they're missing is the quarterback, and they believe that Lincoln can turn whatever quarterback it is into a winner.
As long as it's a transfer.
As long as it's a transfer. That's the key. That's the key here, right? That's the key. So again, dude, I'm not saying that it could be. And let me tell you something. Do you guys really believe that Dan Lanning is above tampering?
No. And Jason, it's not even tampering to get the player there. There is tampering going on everywhere. The Oklahoma recruits right now are hearing from every single school. Yeah, but is the staff going to be there next year? You have that conversation right after the Tennessee game last year. You had Jaden Jackson's crew like already starting to receive, hey, you know, how's it going? How are you feeling? Like, just FYI, my name's Dave, and I operate for the University of whatever. And this is happening every single place. Every single player is getting the conversations. If you're worth anything, you're getting it. And it's not always, hey, if you ever need a new place to look, come here. Who's to say that Dan Lanning didn't have somebody putting it out there because he sees that's a team that, you're going to be battling for? And you just go, what is it in a jury or a court, right? All you have to do is not prove innocence, but is to leave a seat of doubt. Just leave a seat of doubt in the jury that it is one way or the other. And then it's a hung trial. And so what happens is some of these teams could be tampering, and what's the worst case scenario? Hey, guess what? Yeah, there we go. That right there. But hey, guess what? Nico, there's more money out there for you. I know that there is. There's more money out there for you. The dude leaves, and maybe Lanning doesn't want him.Maybe Lanning goes, well, that's done. True. And now there's one less team to go out there and battle.
Thank you. And look below. Ryan Lemon, ain't wrong. He was in Norman to talk with DG before he ever got in the portal.
And Lanning is willing to do whatever it takes to get
his team to succeed.
Every single bit.
We're also talking about the guy that lied about getting offered the damn job at Alabama so that he could get a raise, and then acted like he was being so loyal to Oregon. When he didn't get an offer. They offered the one coach that they wanted. Sark admitted that he got a raise out of it, but he said they never offered him the job at Bama.
No, and you don't. All you have to do is create an opportunity for something to happen. And so this probably isn't the last one of these. I would say that you're probably going to see a lower tier of it. But yeah, I mean, there's not much for Nico to do anything right now. Like, Nico is going to have to wait for an opportunity to present itself, because I think that there's going to be a little cooling off period that needs to happen. Tennessee less than 8.5. I think that
it
number
certainly helps Oklahoma. Yes, it certainly helps. And I didn't think that they were going to go back to the playoff either way. I don't think that they've added enough to the which is another thing that I think that it's fair to ask a lot of these questions. I'm not telling you that I don't believe any of it. I'm telling you it's hard to believe a whole lot of it, because we get one side of the story. We always get one side of the story, and you're not hearing a ton of it coming out of the Iamaleava clan. They're not talking about it. The one thing, now, here's what I'll say. His dad handled that poorly. The whole deal with Nakos whenever he called. But what did he say to Nakos, though? And this is something I think people are forgetting about, because of the fact that he called him a bitch later. But he kept telling Nakos, no, we're not talking about him. We're not talking to them about money. This is not even going on. I don't know what you're talking about. And Nakos kept telling him, well, there's a guy that I trust with my life that's telling me the truth out of Tennessee that's saying this. Okay, so what? Go talk to them. So what does he do? Yes, did he misstep by going out and calling him a bitch? Now he looks like he's just, it's just because he's pissed off, whatever. I get it. But the point is, then you got TJ saying that he feels like it didn't have shit to do. He's going to get money no matter where he goes, is what he said. No matter where he goes, he's going to get money. If he doesn't have the right system to play under, he's not going to go to the next level. And he was promising to change his offense at least a little bit to suit better what Nico could do. So, and all of that stuff is plausible too. It's just as plausible as he's just bitching about money. It is.
It is. It is. And Jason, every single 4 years, there are millions of dollars poured into a presidential race. and what we see as the general public versus what actually happens in DC, they're two different things. And, we never know what's going on. We are told a story, and you're supposed to smile as a humble American and go, all right, we're okay with this story, or we're not okay with the story. But we don't get told things. And listen, I saw the question in there, does Brent tamper? Guys, everybody's doing it now.
There's no such thing as tampering anymore.
No, it is not. What it is it's throwing a line out into the pond and seeing what fish are biting. Is there anything happening right now? And it is a continuation, and it's going to be a continuation, and it's not going to stop. And I promise you this, the rev sharing thing, I think, me personally, this is my own personal opinion, I think that is the biggest dust cloud that's going to just cloudy everything up again, because then you're going to think, well, okay, now everybody's got to abide by these rules. That shit's not going to happen. Every single one of these bigger programs are going to go, okay, we've got this, and then we also have this, because you're going to have a situation to where a booster has an extra little something for somebody, and there's going to be side deals that we don't know about again. It's never going to go all the way away.
Brandon Snake, bro, did you really just say that there's more loyalty between rival coaches than players have for these schools? Guys, I'm gonna say one more time. I'm gonna say this one more time as far as all this goes. Don't forget who made these rules. Don't forget who threw NIL at this problem when they had years and years and years to fix it and to start and to do what was right and pay these cats. Some of these coaches are tight. They're not tight. They're not so tight with each other that they wouldn't try to fuck each other over to win a football game or to win a natty. No, they're not.
How many times do we see on ESPN during college football season two guys not shaking hands, two guys having words at midfield, two guys who just taking jabs at each other? Listen, for a fact that, like, if Dan Lanning's out there saying, there you go, hype, I threw you a little bone there, just because we're boys. No. Josh Heupel saying, hey, thanks for letting me know. But he doesn't trust Dan Lanning. And I promise you this, if Dan Lanning did call,
if he does,
Dan,
come on, wake up, Josh. Come on.
And maybe he did trust him on this situation. They went back and they probably had more conversation, or it's like this. Hey, Dan, we've already been through this. We've been talking through these conversations through the December. It is just like it's just like my son. Come in here. Dad, can I have some ice cream? No. Where does he go next, Jason? Mom. Hey, Mom, can I have some ice cream?
Yeah,
what did your dad say? You already had this conversation with your father. And so I promise you that when Dan Lanning hit up Josh Heupel, they probably went back out to Nico's camp and said, guys, we've already had this conversation. Like, why? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is the situation? And at this
it's
point,
not even about whether they could really make the national championship and win it or not. I guarantee you're going to tell me Texas Tech and all their delusion that they're under right now, that they just put together a team that can go win the Natty, wouldn't go get him right now because of loyalty to the game.
And guess what, Jason? I think also this has a play too, Jason, is if Patrick Mahomes all of a sudden comes out and says, here's $10 million, go get Nico, the entire
or the billionaire, either one. The billionaire could do it too. Yeah.
It changes immediately, because then there's some nostalgia around, oh, look, Patrick Mahomes is really going out. And then people are going to go, well, look at Trae Young just got hired as the assistant GM for Oklahoma. So these players are just, supporting. And then it becomes about that and not a dude who bailed out on his team halfway through the spring.
Yep. With rev share, these teams will be spending $75 million a year in no time. Hey, but we talked about this a lot lately. It wasn't even 6 months ago that Michigan made it damn clear that by 2026, which is next year, that they plan to be spending $50 million in NIL money. Not including the rev share, NIL money. 50. Come on, bro.
There's these numbers. We're never going to get a spreadsheet. It's never going to become public information to where people are sharing everything. And even if whatever sheet goes out,
Well,
like the injury report. Do you think the injury report is 100% indicative of everybody's nicks and bruises? No, it's not. It's
come on.
gamesmanship. There's a bunch of
Oh, yeah.
gamesmanship. And I can promise
And
you this
Belichick
is,
used to put everybody on the fucking injury report, remember?
yes, everybody, every single person.
Everybody.
But if Texas came out and said, here's every dollar that we're spending on NIL, anybody who looks at that and go, okay, well, look at what Texas did, and thinks that they just showed everything, you've been joked already. Like we're just never going to know this stuff.
Right. And Coach Top said everybody's willing to spend to save their job and get extended. Come on.
Yeah. Again, look at a Brent Venables right now. Like,
well,
do you think Brent Venables,
take a look at last year at Ryan Day. He lost already twice in a row to Michigan, and he ended up losing a third time in a row. But what did they go do? They went and spent the shit out of money, 26, 30 million, whatever the number was, to go get everybody they possibly could need, doubled up on running backs, went and got Will Howard, who could throw the ball. I mean, they paid a shit ton of money to Caleb Downs and those guys to come play defense. They kept a lot of guys that had already been, it probably could have been first or second rounders. They had to pay to keep those dudes. They had to pay to keep them. Why? Because Ryan Day was about to lose his fucking job.
Yes. And they operated at a $38 million deficit within the athletic program. And I promise you, every Ohio State fan says, yeah, we're cool with what happened. Yeah, you cashed in and you went out and you got a couple of players which really, really needed to help. And these coaches are going to stay. They're going to stay because what's going to happen is Texas Tech goes out, gets Nico. They go to the playoff. They lose in the first round. And that's all. Everybody's going to think it's money well spent. I mean, Nico's heading to the NFL next year, most likely. Doesn't matter if he's going to go play at a big program or a mid-tier program. He's going to go, and that's just how these things are going to work.
No doubt about it. And again, I mean, this is where I would tell you again. As much as I'd love to sit here and tell you that we can pinpoint all of their troubles to this kid, and this is the problem. You know damn well that that's not the case, man. It's not the case. And when you go back to look at, I mean, what Ryan Clark said was true. You can hate him all you want to, chat. All you guys in the chat that were talking shit about Ryan Clark when I put that up, you can hate him if you want. What did he say that was wrong? Because the truth is, he didn't say anything wrong. And none of these rules came from a player. Not one of them have made any of these rules. Now, are some of them learning how to leverage them? Sure they are. They've been getting leveraged to death forever. And nobody gives a shit about that. I love it look, I love my school as much as you all love your schools. I get it, and you should. But I've always said the same thing about NFL teams. I've never understood how you could really side with the multi-billionaire owners over these players. When the market says the money, it's not about it. Oh, well, we can't afford that. Yeah, okay. It doesn't mean I'm not worth it. And especially in a sport that can be over like that. And in the NFL, they don't have to pay you. The only thing that they're entitled to pay, that they have to pay, is your signing bonus. The rest, they cut you tomorrow and not pay you another dime. It's the only professional sport that guaranteed contracts almost never happen. The only time they ever have happened was Deshaun Watson. Turns out it wasn't so guaranteed.
Yeah, and I mean, we know what's going on there now. But I mean, I think that we can talk in circles about this. The plain and simple thing is I think that a lot of people have no, I think I saw Chase Daniel type something out that said something along the lines of, 21-year-old kid making $2.5 million wants to make $4 million. Like, what is this, world coming through? Like, I think there's a lot of college players, guys that played, before the NIL era, and a lot of us is, you're seeing it and you're like, okay, well, I got to go spend $80 to put gas in my truck. I got to go, drop $300 to feed my family where it used to cost $100. And I think a lot of us get annoyed at this because they're like, a lot of us look at this and go, over $1.5 million. And when you know that if you light it up, you're going to get every ounce of what you deserve, because I think that's the issue is all of us wanted these players to make money, to get the portion of the coin that they deserve. We didn't want this. We didn't want guys, again, I still remember hearing like, well, listen, we're going to pay everybody $60K on the team regardless. I would have taken $60K back in college.
Shit,
and
yeah.
now you have guys who are making
$6K back in college. Broke ass. Come on, man. We were all broke asses in college. Come on.
Listen. I remember going to play Tennessee Chattanooga in baseball, and them handing me my $500 meal stipend. That was a lot of money for me. That was a lot of money for me growing up. And that was a big deal. So, I mean, I think this is, you've got an absolute situation here, which is going to determine probably the NIL game going for the next 18 months. I still think that the revenue sharing thing is going to put some, kind of bumper bowling situation going on to where you've got some guidance, but it's not going to be the fix-all. This is going to continue to be a situation, and, you just hope that it doesn't happen to your team. Now, if I look at a player and I say, no, don't get what you deserve, and the fellow that's about to come on here in a second, let's say that, Boganowski goes out and has him a hell of a year this year, makes an all-SEC team. And then Mike comes and goes, and he goes to Nagy, and he goes to the crew, and he says to them, I feel like I deserve a little bit more. And, I was talking with my parents, and because, as far as normal people, they're jerks, but as far as business sense, they're good people. Mike, you didn't even crack a smile. I'm a little sad on that one. But
I'm used to it.
There's a way that you handle this conversation appropriately. And here's the thing is, again, going back to my children, is kids come to me and they say, hey, can I do this? And I say, no. And they say, well, I really want to do it. And I say, I understand. You have my answer. And I think that that's the situation that needs to happen with these things is there needs to be a conversation. You look at numbers, you have some kind of a system set in place, and you can point towards the system. Hey, this is the system we have set in place. This is the why. It's nothing personal. It's nothing, if you're wanting $1 million now, we have $750 for you. What do you think about that? Well, I really think I'm worth $1 million. Well, this is the system that we have set in place. And if you can point towards that as a university is really all you can do. And that as a program, that's really all you can do. And you just hope that the people around them go, okay, so we have options. We go take the sit out and we maybe make less. That's what the whole transfer portal has been about at this point anyway, is every single one of these guys in the transfer portal go think that they can go improve their situation. And for the vast majority of them, it gets worse. And so that's the risk that you take in taking a stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you take a stand like that, you already have to have come to the grips and the conclusion and be okay with said school saying no and you leaving that school. You know what I mean? Like that's he's already thought about that and he's okay with it. And I'm not saying that's good or bad or right or wrong, but that's just something that you have to war game before you even start the process. And there could be a chance they tell me to pound sand and hit the portal, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to take that chance.
You do. There is a risk. I mean that is the situation. It is just like every single one of us. We all have jobs, and if you go out and you leave your job and the devil and you go to a new one, it could be a much, much worse situation. Those are just real life situations, whether it's.
But hey, I'm glad you brought that up though, because all this shit that everybody's in here talking about, acting like you wouldn't go take another job if they offered you $10,000 more even. Stop acting like that, people. Quit that shit. Jason, you're being disingenuous.
You're right. You're right. Now, if you go, because I have these conversations with family members all the time, I don't mind that you quit your job. I mind that you quit your job before you had another job. Like the whole, my boss didn't do this and my supervisor didn't do this.
Okay, hold on though. Cool. I will say that again. Do you really believe that if it was really about money, you believe that he jumped that they caused all this and got released without somebody already out there offering them that money, that they already didn't know that they were going to get that money? Come on.
I think that there were words that led them to believe that there was something else out there. But again, same thing is if I go have an interview with an ESPN and they say, hey, come run our promotions and come run our contests and our sponsorships marketing, and I go take that job, and then I find out that there's not an environment set up for me to be successful, then I've got to go build this. They are projecting and selling me based off projections. And I think that that's kind of the same situation here. Is you're telling me that a school that you're not committed to might lie to you? Yes, that is going to happen. Someone is going to lie to you.
Yeah, like this is we're having a full circle moment here. Like, those people that respond to my man's question right there from Donald, that's part of the soul mission. You know what I mean? Now everybody, like, do we have financial literacy and all this and stuff? Like, yeah, we do. It's attached to the program that everybody says they want to go. That we need to get rid of it and start getting serious about ball. You know what I mean? It's part of soul mission. It's 100% part of soul mission. Financial
but
literacy.
Guess what?
Yep.
Guess what, Mike? Your son also probably received some kind of a sit down. I know that I did when I went to OU. Brought all the athletes sit down and say, all right, guys, let's talk about drinking on campus. This is what we don't want you to do. We don't mind if you're going to go out, you're college kids, you're going to have fun. But here's the thing. Don't walk around Campus Corner blasted out of your mind. Don't drive around campus. Don't go to Oklahoma City and get blasted and try to make it close back. Then you end up with an Ollie Gordon situation. But it's still the decision making for the kids and the people around them. They're going to have to do it because the financial literacy, I mean, we know for a fact that there's going to be family members that say, yes, but you're going to listen to us. You're not going to listen to college. They don't care. Like, we've got your best in interest. This college is here to, you are an asset, and they're going to manage you as an asset.
Of course.
And
of course,
there's a lot of truth to it because from Nagy's perspective, he's got a job to do, and he's going to do the best to make his job successful.
So, and Chrissy said that these contracts with the NIL mean something. Do they, though? Because remember the Wisconsin player that had signed his NIL deal? He signed his NIL deal and then decided he wanted to go to Miami, get in the portal. And they told him, no, you can't because you've already signed this NIL deal. And what did he do? He disenrolled and fucking went to Miami.
Yeah. And the NCAA, don't leave this part out, Jason. The NCAA basically said the portal doesn't exist. Yes, he can do that.
Brother. I'm telling you. Yeah.
So he can't leave that out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. And that's why whenever we were talking about this last week and they're talking about this clearinghouse bullshit, right? They're talking about all this clearinghouse stuff. And I heard, and it's not even that I disrespect him because I don't. I think that he's gotten a lot of stuff right. But you've had a guy that's out there on Twitter that came at me telling me, oh, well, if the clearinghouse thing doesn't go through, then the house settlement is screwed. And there are large, what did he say? How did he put it? There are big consequences for that house settlement not going through. They're going to end up paying $20 billion. You think they give a shit? They're getting billions per year for the new playoff, not to mention all the other money that they get as it is. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to, as long as this thing keeps cranking out money, they're going to keep doing what they want to do. And the truth is, all you really have to do is collective bargain. If you go to that, if you really want to slow this shit down, which if they did, they would already have been done, man.
Mm-hmm.
If they really gave a shit about this at the NCAA or the university president level or the athletic director level, this shit would be done already. Don't kid yourself. Because as long as the golden goose lives, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they want to keep that money for sure. They want to keep it coming in. They want to keep it in. Like, and I heard a take from old Ryan Clark from ESPN and the Pivot. And I don't, a lot of times I can get with what he says a lot of the times, but
I played that the other just earlier.
yeah, oh yeah, like I actually agree with what he says about that. Like I really think that like there needs to be like some leadership at the NCAA level that gives a shit and not just gives about money. And I don't know, man. It's just a failure of leadership, man. Like it is it is so I just can't believe that this stuff is happening in today's world. Like with this, man. I mean, I can, but like we're not hip to it, and like nobody's doing anything about it. You know what I mean?
No,
And something
again,
has to be
because
done, man.
it's still profitable for them to not do anything about it.
You can still profit. Both you can still have both. Like
Well,
the money's not going to go away.
but this
Like
is why I put. But guess what? You know why nobody gives a shit? Because it's not about fair. This is not about fairness. This is not about doing the right thing. It's never been about doing the right thing. This is all about the people that have and that have the money, that they have the power in this sport they're going to keep it. And they don't want Kirby Smart and all we're doing this for is just for, parity in the sport. Your ass, you're doing it for parity in the sport. Shut up. Come on. Again, you hear all this bullshit come out of their mouths, and then we're going to believe them on other stuff. How could you believe any of them on anything?
Yeah. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe anybody, man. Like you can't you have to really know somebody. You know what I mean? Like you really have to be close, because like these guys are good at what they do, man. They're good at making you believe what they say. Like they essentially do it for a living. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
almost like actors, right? Like they get paid to act. They get paid to show you the good side and be super nice and tell you what you want to hear and all this stuff, man. But this, I don't know, man. I just don't. 9 times out of 10, I don't believe half the shit that comes out of coach's mouth. To be honest with you, like when you see them in large press conferences settings like that, come on, man, come on.
I mean, why would you? And why would you?
Yeah,
We're about to bring in
it's
real quick.
sales, and you gotta be good at
yeah,
sales.
yeah. You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, no
that's
doubt.
it. It's
Well,
yeah.
somebody who I know has been hearing a lot about the sales. He's heard the sales pitch quite a bit. It's our guy here, Ortiz Jenkins. He is a trainer and also not just a trainer for quarterbacks and all athletes at the college level, but also a player representative as well. So I know you've done some of this work. Welcome into the show. We're glad to have you in here, my friend. Can you hear me?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's good to talk to you.
Can you hear me?
Obviously, yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, we're deep in
Good
the
deal.
middle of this Nico Iamaleava talk, and it's got everybody all wound up. And I think that obviously there's reason for everybody to be all wound up about it. But I think just I was glad to have you come in because there's a lot of things that you could kind of sit here and want to. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are going on around college football. I know you played college football. I know you played in the NFL as well, didn't you?
A tad bit. I had a taste of coffee. It was quick. It was in and out. But
Hey,
we were there.
That's a ways though. But wouldn't you say that do you feel like this system here is broken? Is it maturing? What's going on? What do you feel like is really happening in college football as a whole?
I mean, honestly, I don't think the system is broken. I think what it is you just have to set some parameters around when the actual portal starts, stops, and I think you should just realistically have one portal time. And I think it should literally be after the last college football game of the season. Having portal, the transfer, first of all, having 2 transfer portals to me, I'm not a fan of that.
Right.
Number 2 is portal when guys are in bowl games and before games and before with games still left, important games going on. I think it's just a travesty of what they're doing. Ideally, after the national championship game, open the portal up, let guys do what they need to do leading up to spring ball, and you go from there. I don't even understand how as smart as everybody's supposed to be that's in charge of these things could not say, hey, we'll open up the portal after the last game of the season and guys can move and get to where they got to get to by spring ball and so on and so forth.
Right.
It probably has to do with people in their contracts, when their contracts expire, new contracts start, so on and so forth. Because a lot of times, if you're a new enrollee, your contract going to start in the end of January or February. So it's probably has something to do with that. But ideally, to clean it up, all you got to do is just say, we got one portal time. Maybe you give it more than 10 days, but you got to do it after the national championship game. What you can't do is what we got going on, in my opinion, and having a portal when kids is jumping out, with bowl games coming and different times like that. That's just crazy.
Right. And, I think that a lot of people in here, go Vols, this first Vols guy I think we've gotten in here, he said Nico's an outlier. No one is as misinformed as he is, not broken, except for Josh Pate said last night that he wasn't the only guy that was threatening, apparently, and this is obviously, reportedly threatening to jump in the portal before their playoff game even came about, So
yeah, I'll tell you like this. I'll tell you like this, not to cut you off. I
No,
know
go ahead.
Nico. I've known him since he was a teenager. Me and his dad, Big Nick, we went to high school together. Okay, so I know Nick. It's not like Nick knows exactly what he's doing. And I tell you like this, if he's doing it, the moves that they're doing, it's a strategic move, and they're doing it for the right reasons. That's gonna benefit Nico and Nick and their family. Period. I don't care what nobody says, and like I said, I know Big Nick. Like I said, played high school football with him.
Yeah.
I've known him through this quarterback process. He's helped me when I'm, from the management standpoint of working with Jaden O'Neal and some of the other quarterbacks that I have that I train and other athletes that I work with, and I do their business management stuff as well. The bottom line is that he's gonna do what's best for Nico and what's
Sure.
best for their family. Nico is a great kid,
Mhm.
very humble, great to talk to. He's a fan favorite. And here's the thing, he's a proven baller. Okay? Period. In the SEC, if you can do what he did, which is solid numbers, it's proven.
Yeah.
That's why he won't have no problems he'll have no problems getting what he asked for, and he'll have no problems getting to another school, if you ask me, without question. It's not even, it ain't even, it'll be where he wants to go. And in my opinion, and this is just, I don't have any facts behind it, but I know Nick, and I know Nick's going to do what's best for his family, and I don't see it being an issue at all. Not even a question. He will have multiple schools that will be asking him to come and help them win football games immediately.
I don't think that there's any doubt in that. I know that there's people in here right now that are believing that these, because you heard about Dan Lanning supposedly and Lincoln Riley too, supposedly calling and letting him know that he was shopping himself around or whatever, right? I don't know that I buy into all that. And if they did do that, I could also say that doesn't mean that they won't be in the market for him if they felt like they needed a quarterback to get them to the next place they're going to be. Bottom line is, yeah, did he have the gaudiest numbers in the world? No, he didn't. But guess what he did? He took his team to the playoff. They went 10-2. You look at that Alabama game, he threw a big time touchdown near the end of the game that won it for him at the end, So that's where I just feel like it's easy to sit here and just say that it's only about, that these coaches are going to do what's right by each other. But we all know better. We all know better. And the principle doesn't matter. It will matter all the way up until you need him. And quarterback is the biggest need in all of college, in all of sports, period. It's the most important position. We all know that.
Without question.
Yeah. So again, I believe that it's just going to be what it is. And in the end, I guess I would ask you though too, are we watching the consequences of a system that sold these kids on a dream without really having structure to back any of it up? Because we know there wasn't any structure. They threw NIL at it, and here we are.
I'll tell you like this, fellas, and this is what I tell a lot of kids, a lot of people. When I was a starting quarterback at Arizona, I'm in the Ring of Honor. If you ever get a chance to go to Arizona, you'll see my name in the stadium. Not that means shit, but what it does mean is that
I noticed your name, dude. I got my cousin lives out there in Tucson.
At the end of the day, I'll tell you like this. I got paid $787 a month was my scholarship stipend check during the season, and $887 when the season was out.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 years I was at Arizona, my Nike jersey was in our store 4 times. Okay, selling in the stadium 4 times. I got $0 from that. I'm not upset about it. It just was the lay of the land at the time. It is what it is. I'll tell you like this: that $800 to me felt like $8,000, to be honest with you, because that era was just a different era. The kids getting paid today is part of the process. They've been getting millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some of these schools are generating $100 million a season in football. And we got to take care of all the other sports. So what? There's still money to be left. If your college coach, and they're good coaches and they're worth it, can make $8, $9, $10 million a year, and you telling me we got problems with paying the kids, everybody's crazy about that. I don't care what nobody else say, and I'll argue that till the wheels fall off. Should there be some kind of structure? Of course.
Sure.
There should be somewhat of structure, but it has to be beneficial for both parties. And that's where I think where we all find that fine line. Like, now the kids don't value it because they're getting paid now. Well, realistically, if the kids are generating the money, the kids should get a piece of the money. You know what I mean? At the and what they do with their money and their infrastructure and how they're set up, that's gonna be the people in their corner's job to make sure that system is set up correctly. Any of the kids that I work with, you're gonna have an infrastructure set up. You're gonna have an LLC. You're gonna have legal. You're gonna have a CPA. You're gonna have all these things before you even get to college. So that way, you're able to understand when you do get this amount of money, how to manage it and make sure that we have the stuff that protects the player in place via taxes, because that's the biggest issue that nobody's talking about, because these kids getting all this fucking money and they don't realize that 30-40% of the shit got to go in a savings account, which should be a money market savings account, so it can make money for them while it's over there. So, it ain't that hard, but people making it harder than what it really needs to be, in my opinion.
No doubt. Hoop.
Yeah, Hoop. I mean, so tell me real quick. Obviously you being pretty close with the family, and you kind of bring up another name that I'd like to chat with you off camera about. But I mean, tell me, when you're working with some of these athletes, at some point these conversations come up, and I look at a situation like with Jaden O'Neal. Jaden O'Neal is a guy who came to camp last year. Kevin Sperry's out there throwing. Jaden O'Neal starts flinging the ball around. Everybody's oohs and ahs draw over to him. He goes, and it was kind of like a significant moment for like quarterback at Oklahoma, because you went from, Kevin Sperry might be the future to, now Jaden O'Neal's the future. And so that whole drama ensues. There's a coordinator change, and now you have a situation with, potential Bentley and Jaden O'Neal. At some point, we all need to realize that every single one of these players really has what's best for them in their mind, and every single one of these universities have what's best for them in the mind, and every single one of these coaches have what's best for them in their mind. And we have to find a way to all play in the sandbox. And every once in a while, somebody's going to get a scraped knee. Every once in a while, somebody's going to get kicked out of the sandbox. Every once in a while, somebody's going to stand up. So when you're having these conversations with these kids, what is your message to them with, hey, listen, you've got a right to fight for everything, but there will be backlash. You've got a right to do what's best for you, but there will be backlash, and you've got to find that chemistry which minimizes the backlash, but at the same time does what's best for you. Because sometimes in life you just get a shit sandwich, and you just get dealt a really, really bad situation, and you just got to make the best out of it. So how do those conversations go with you?
Yeah, so anybody that works with me is gonna get a real direct and real transparent conversation. And everybody you hear people say, "Oh man, transparency is everything," right? Everybody tells you that, "Oh yeah, transparency." At the end of the day, I tell them it's two things. You got fit, and then you got finance, and that's the order it needs to be. It has to be a right fit first. The money part about it is going to be there anyway. So when you're talking to these conversations, I have to let them know that one, they're always going to be recruiting somebody to take your place, always, because the
Yes,
26
it's their job.
class is trying to get trumped by the 27 class.
Sure.
So ideally, understand that the competition level is always going to be there. What you do get and what gets a little tricky is when you have programs that say that you're going to do one direction and then that direction changes. And now, if you're talking about the Oklahoma situation, I don't back down from that at all. I'll hit that straight on, and I'll tell anybody, any coach, anybody that's part of it, what it is. Ideally, when Seth got fired, then we stayed strong and we stayed exactly true to Oklahoma. If we want to dive right in, I can dive right in without any problems. And so once that changed, the dynamic changed, we still stayed there, brought new staff in. Everybody in that quarterback room is gone. Jack Lowry gone, Purdue. Kevin Johns gone, Oklahoma State. Ty Hatch gone, Georgia. So once that room gets emptied out, which is understandable, gentlemen, and that's normal. Like when an OC come in, he bringing in his dudes. And it's also normal for him to recruit his dudes, right? So we understand, and using the narrative with the Jaden O'Neal situation, we understand that you guys want to go and you want your guy, but that's not what you told us. And I know, and everybody knows, if you see
Oh,
is what it is. It's proven. It's every single time you've ever seen them anywhere, camps, tape, live, whatever you want, we know exactly what that is. So the conversation with the parents is that, listen, as much as these coaches recruit you and love on you and so on and so forth, nothing, they're gonna protect the brand of the university and their high paying jobs first and foremost. So there's a lot of pressure for Oklahoma.
oh shit, we lost him. We lost him. There's a lot of pressure for Oklahoma. I don't know what happened. He was getting a little.
It's very
I'll get him right back.
There
That
is. Oh,
goes.
here he goes.
eh,
We lost you there for a second there,
I'm sorry.
Ortiz. You're back though. Go ahead, continue.
No, I would. And those conversations, guys, with the parents is very, very simple. That you got to understand that as good as it seems, they're always trying to replace you. It's just what the name of the business, man. And if you don't believe that, then you're in fairy tale land, or you gonna get your feelings hurt when you get up there and you're the guy, and all of a sudden they got a guy 27 right behind you and a 28 right behind him. So
And if
Yeah.
your program
I'd
is
hope
on
that
the right
answers your question,
trajectory,
bro.
yeah, no, if your program's on the right trajectory, I said a couple years ago about Oklahoma and the fact that, like, if you are recruiting a higher grade of an athlete and the program is on the great trajectory at these bigger programs, you know that they're going after a guy that's probably equal or better. And you show some propensity. I mean, look at the safety position. We went from, Justin Broyles and Pat Fields and Bookie to what we have nowadays, and it is, I mean, leaps and bounds different. Well, Justin Broyles didn't have to worry about a potential 5-star coming in until he did, and then now you've got Boganowski, who's looking at Robinson, and he's looking at Wimberly, and he's going, oh, now these guys are hungry. And so if you go to one of these bigger programs, you know that a higher caliber or an equal caliber athlete is coming in right behind you, and you got to keep pushing. And I mean, I think that there is some situation to where you see that, and you're like, well, I mean, what are the people around you telling you? Like, is this a situation now to where you can stay and make big bank? I mean, look at a Dylan Gabriel. If he goes to the NFL draft, dude's probably, I mean, I'm guessing best case scenario, 6th round, most likely undrafted guy. And he got paid a lot more money just to go to Oregon and to manage that team and to play and ball out freely. And those are going to be continuing to happen because you're going to see a lot of guys who are coming back for their 3rd, 4th year in our NFL draft guys, and they're going to have one final payday before they go hold the clipboard and, probably hang out and play special teams on an NFL crew.
Yeah. No, again, when it goes to the player side, I'm all about maximizing as much money as you can, ideally, because once it's over, and then these kind of checks that they're getting now in the real world, as we know, are not likely. You know what I mean? After they leave college, so maximize it, save it, manage it the right way, and put
Sure.
yourself in a good position. Is what you can tell them. Now, are they going to listen? They're 18 to 22 years
Yeah.
old. Just depends on how they was brought up and who they got in their corner to help them manage that situation. But a lot of them aren't. You know what I mean? A lot of guys are just out here and they got backyard buddies doing their deals and all kinds of shit like that, and it
Yeah.
can get a little slippery.
Yeah, and Urban Ninja, not to question your salary expertise, which I'm sure you have plenty of, but I mean, it's not really what we think about what they're worth. It's what somebody tells them they're worth or what the market says that they're worth. And I would tend to believe that if we really believe that this is all about money, because I'm not sure that I do. You heard TJ Houshmandzadeh saying that he believes that it had as much to do with the playbook as it had to do with anything else. We've heard that from other places too. It wasn't just from TJ. And if you listen to what his dad said on his tweet, which I think that he slipped a little bit on the tweet by calling Nakos a bitch. Had he not called Nakos a bitch, then we pay attention to the rest of the tweet. But he kept saying, look, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not having these discussions at all. And according to TJ Houshmandzadeh, they hadn't even talked about money since January. It's April. So if we believe that that's all bullshit, and that's fine if you believe that, I don't care. If you do believe that, though, you mean to tell me that they would pull all of this stuff not having somebody out there telling them that they're going to have that money for them or somewhere close to that money for them? I mean, because I'm just saying, I don't know why you would leave a situation that you just went to the playoff, you're making 2.5. Maybe they do bump you up. I don't know what they offered him, what they didn't offer him. I don't know. But even if they're going to offer you a little more, which I don't know why they wouldn't, rather than have to start all over at quarterback. And, I mean, we just saw that their Vegas number dropped a point. They were expected to go 9.5 wins was the over under. Now it's 8.5 in one day. Yeah. So don't tell
Jason,
me that it wouldn't be worth it to Josh and them to pay that extra money. So there has to be something out there if we really believe that it's just about money. Go ahead, Eric.
Or taking being close to the situation. The playbook thing is the thing that really gets me interested, because do you have any insight on them kind of pulling back the momentum in the Oklahoma game last year?
You talking about in a
Tennessee
Nico
and
situation?
Nico and Josh, yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I'd be lying to say I had any insight on that at all. I mean, in that play, because we haven't really been in depth. I haven't had in-depth conversations about that with him. What I would tell you is this: that it's gonna be a lot of teams that he can go to, and it ain't gonna be no issue. And like I
48
said, it's
hours
not
since
gonna
they
be.
released him. We're talking 48 hours since they released the guy. You haven't heard anything just yet, but believe me, by the end of this week, there's going to be. Come on, probably by the end of business today, he'll have multiple offers on the table.
Where I'm going with that is we saw in the Oklahoma game, Robert Spears-Jennings coming in on a blitz, hit Nico in the elbow. We couldn't do anything on offense. And then Josh Heupel's whole play theory changed. They quit attacking and they just ran the clock out, essentially. They took the least risk possible. We talked about that, because I watched the O-tackle walk over to the sideline and yell in one of the coaches' faces, "I'm tired of this shit," because he got double teamed and plowed right into the back of everybody. And I would just say this is, you as a quarterback, your job is to go out there and win the game. And I would assume that, I never thought of it this way, but I would assume that you going and telling Nico, to go out there and just hand the ball off and throw parallel passes, you're basically taking his tools away from him, and you're just going and you're saying, hey, we want you to go out there and lay a bunt down. And that's like saying that to Shohei Ohtani. Go out there and lay a bunt down, Shohei. Are you telling me that Shohei Ohtani wouldn't look at you and be like, translator, come over here and tell him no? Because that's ridiculous. And don't take my money while you're at it. But
Right.
that is what I feel is if there is frustration with Nico and the playbook, you saw several times where Nico looked like Nico, and then you saw several times where Nico looked neutered. And I think that if there's some frustration there, that's probably a relevant point.
I believe that there had. I mean, look, and think about all the Tennessee fans that have been on this dude's ass. They went 10-2. They went 10-2. You can say it was all because of Dylan Sampson if you want to, and that defense if you want to, but I'll tell you what, we would have loved to have had a quarterback that only had what do you have total? 7 turnovers total, 5 interceptions and 2 fumbles. I think we would have loved to have had that at OU last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that to me is where people have to realize he's a winner. He's a winner, and he's a great kid, great character, high character. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care how it went down. I've talked to him. I've been around him enough to know. I know his dad. I know his younger brother. I went to school with his dad and his mom. Like they teach high character. But Nick don't play no bullshit either. And if he feel like it's gonna affect or have a direct effect on whatever the program is doing with his son and his family, he don't play like that. It's just what it is. And to me, I don't have a problem with that because as dads, you got to remember, you take all the other stuff off. They dads first, gentlemen. You know what I mean? And they're dads first, and everything else is second. So I think once the dust settles. These are great topics now, but when the dust settles, I think everybody will, and he lands where he lands, then we'll evaluate it in December, ideally, and then it will figure out, what it is. And we'll figure out if the move was right, if it was the right thing to do. And you see a lot of coaches jumped on there. I seen Cristobal jumped on TV and said, listen, we ain't doing none of that. We're not gonna have that. Huh?
The one guy that should never say shit about any of this was Cristobal. Are you kidding me, Go? Come on, man.
Oh yeah.
Come on, man.
But again, everybody
I like Cristobal, man. Cristobal's cool, man.
But bro, come on. I don't care. I don't care. He's got to shut up.
Uh-oh.
This is what I gotta say to him is shut up, dumbass. Nobody wants to hear that from you, Mario. Nobody wants to hear that shit from you. And nobody said, listen, Go Vols, I appreciate what you're saying here. I understand where you're coming from. I really do. As a fan of your school, I get it. Nobody was saying that the kid was an All-American as a first-year starter. But if you're gonna sit here and call the dude trash, then I'm gonna take exception to that because I don't think he's trash. I think he was a first-year starter that made some mistakes. There's a lot of people around the world.
Somebody called Nico trash.
A lot of people are calling Nico trash. All over Twitter. Just go look. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all over YouTube.
Yeah,
it's all over Twitter. It's everywhere, man. Come on.
He's a first year starter, and I'm just going to say that he's first year starter. They had some issues on the offensive line. They had a really good defense, and I think that I do think that they played as if they had a really, really good defense and a really good running game. And it's don't run out there and let your quarterback put you in a bad spot. But again, he's a first year starter. We're just in a weird mindset now to where like you're letting in a first year starter who
we love this elite word. The word elite gets thrown around way too damn much, and the expectations are there right away.
Well, again, how many Oklahoma fans would have exchanged Jackson Arnold for Nico?
Shit,
every one of them. Every one of them twice. I would exchange Jackson Arnold for me wearing a Nico jersey, just to be honest with you. But I just 100% like the guy was a first year player. I still think that he has, we talked about it. We were very, very lucky to get him early in the season. And I thought it was going to be harder to have him later in the season this year. And but at the same time, I don't think that he's much better than I'd rather have him than Carson Beck today, tomorrow, and the next day. I would absolutely rather have him over Carson Beck.
The question becomes this, gentlemen. This is what I say. Who are the top 5 quarterbacks that are coming back next year in your eyes? And I don't even know. And then, or the top 10. Because at the end of the day, you got to look at the competition that he's played against. He's seen everything. This year, the next year, his sophomore year is going to be a great breakout. It's not even a breakout year. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So what is it, 4-1? 4-1 touchdown to interception ratio, roughly. I mean, you got to understand what do people expect to happen? Who's the number 1 quarterback coming in this year's draft? I mean, this year's class.
I would think.
Who do they got? This number.
Coming into this season, or you mean
this season coming up in college football?
Okay,
not recruited. No, not recruited. The top college quarterback that's going to come into this year's season.
Probably Nuss. Probably Nussmeier. Nussmeier, probably.
Nussmeier, LSU.
I mean, if I'm really gonna go after, that one was bad. I was gonna say I'm not gonna put Arch in there. I'm not gonna put Arch in there because I want to go based off. I want to go based off of what production on the field. But you've got is it Levitt, Arizona State? He's one of the big guys. Nussmeier. Oh, here we go. You got Sam Levitt, Drew Aller, DJ Lagway. That's based off projection.
Okay. Stop. Right. So think about that. You telling me Nico not in that group?
I think he's ahead because he's actually he's done.
My point is that those guys he has played. And where people don't understand the position, when you have experience, you have played, that is a huge deal. So those guys you name right now, Nico is in there in a phone booth giving work to any of them quarterbacks you guys just talked about. Any of them. And that's my point. My point that I'm making is that for the people that are disrespectful. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say with you. I mean, he's shown at Nico right now on this on 3 list. And again, it is on 3, but they have his number 10 returning quarterback this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, there it is.
Right, so that puts him probably at the very least in the top 5 of the SEC. Does it not? If he was coming back to the SEC now,
you got Lagway, Arch, Lenora Sellers, Nussmeier, Mateer, and then Nico. So they have him 6th in the SEC.
Okay. Fair enough. And I got a question. I mean, but that all goes to, that's all speculation. And I mean, this is kind of what we've been talking about a ton, right? A ton about where do you put these guys? I mean, he was a 5-star. We know he was a 5-star, but how much of these recruiting rankings and services, or how much of these, a lot of fake offers, a lot of how they rank these kids, there's a lot of shady shit that goes on that stuff that I don't even know that is going to matter. I mean, I believe that now that you're starting to see guys like Jim Nagy taking these jobs as GMs, they're going to have to change the way they do business in order to do that. But what do you know about that as representing these guys and training them? What is that? What have you noticed from that, Ortiz?
On what scale?
Like recruiting and stuff like that, like all the craziness that goes on with because I've heard a bunch of stuff about, like, say, Dabo, and I'm just using this example because I hear it a lot, that when it all comes down to it, he has to have such a high rating class because it's a big bonus for him every year. So he starts calling up the riders and the guys at 247 or on 3 or whatever, whenever they, gets toward the end and be like, hey, we got to get my class numbers up there. You know what I mean? And we know that a lot of these guys are going to go off of what certain coaches have to say about a guy. They may never have seen him. You know what I mean? If they're not going to your camps and paying to go to your camps for that matter, how do we know it's one thing to rank the top 32, but what's the difference in top 100 and top 400? Is it really that much?
Ideally what I've learned throughout this process is that you're going to have what it is a lot of the writers, whether or not it be 24/7, Rivals, On3, the UC Report with ESPN. A lot of them, they only get their chance to see guys at camps or at 7-on. So a lot of times, you know, they don't there's not a really or at Elite 11 there's not a really it's very difficult to get a really good grade on a guy unless you really take the time to break down their film and then watch what they do when they go from camps and how they look at camps 7-on-7 if that's part of it and their actual game tape film. And so what it does is that you get inconsistencies. That's why you see different ranking systems between the 4 or 5 competitor people that rank these kids. Now, whether or not they're going in and making calls behind the scenes to get guys stars up and stuff like that, I'm sure. I've seen politics and all of this stuff across the board. I mean, the offers of non-real offers, the kids that got 45 offers, and then when it's time to sign, they're not signing anywhere. So I mean, we all know that the politics is out there. We all know that relationships are out there. We all know that you know certain guys want to be tied to certain ranking systems, want to be tied to certain guys, so they're going to always keep their ranks up if they're good or even if somebody even outplays them. I mean, ideally, it's across the board. Another thing is too is the representation of where they get their stat information from. Just to I'll give you an idea, just going back to the Jaden situation, Jaden's stats weren't updated in the system. So if you just pulled up his stats, you'd be like, oh, what? That looks like mediocre stats. Well, yeah, because there were games that weren't put into the system.
Most of the time when you
And
look
things
on
like
there,
that happen.
most of the time when you look on 3247, they never have the stats right. Almost never.
And so my point that I'm making is that there comes a point in time where stories, articles, and things have to get out based upon a time constraint, right? So then you just start guessing. And then that becomes inaccurate information, and then people go out and they put out a narrative that's not correct. And that happens all the way across the board. And I'm sure it happens, from coast to coast. So, are there people that have great relationships with people? They say, hey, I need you to do a favor to do this and that. It's just like anything else in the world, gentlemen. Of course you do. You know what I mean? And that's just and whether or not it's fair or not, it's just the reality of what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, what happens from this point on is going to determine a lot. Public opinion. This is going to be a situation where it continues going out. If Tennessee goes and has a similar season to what they had, it's going to swing the narrative in their favor significantly. If Nico gets picked up by somebody and takes them to the playoffs, same situation. Maybe it ends up to where it all kind of just comes out in the wash, and it just doesn't. I mean, the thing is like when we talked about the politics stuff earlier. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the exact story, top, bottom, up, and down. What the university is telling Nico is probably not actually 100% accurate. And then, what we hear in the social media, same situation. All in all is, I don't think that anybody outside of college football is surprised by this. We've all been waiting for this. Like everybody has been waiting for one of these situations to happen. We saw it in the NFL where guys all of a sudden don't show up to training camp. This is the NCAA version of that. And because the that organization has been an absolute just joke of an organization, they're just going to sit there. And you know what? I if anything, I think Josh Heupel and them. I'm curious to see how the public opinion goes for him, because if you have a bad year, you're going to have a faction in the Tennessee team who says, "Yeah, well, you should have paid Nico." And then if you have a bad year,
you're damned
people are
if
going
you
to
do,
say,
damned if
"Yeah."
you don't. You know that shit ain't
Yeah.
wrong.
And listen, the Tennessee fans, I love you, go Vols. Tennessee fans, very, very similar to Texas fans. They believe that they're supposed to win the national championship this year.
every
year. It's going to be there every single year.
Even though it's been
And
a shit show in Knoxville for a long time.
yeah, and you don't need to have, I don't think that you need to have a quarterback in college football that is going to be a top 10 draft pick to do anything really, really big. But at the same time, you can't just have a bum. And but I would also say this is, them getting kind of ran in the playoffs, I don't put that on Nico, 100% on Nico. You can't. It's not.
He was
That's
the
not
only
how
one
things
that,
work.
that looked like he had a pulse on that team that day.
Well, it's a team. It's a team game,
It is a
and
team game. Absolutely.
you allow one call to determine the game, and you can point towards the team and say, "Hey, we put ourselves in that position." If you let one play, same situation. If this was Oklahoma, we would be lighting his ass up right now, but there would also be part of the fan base who is saying, what the hell's going on with Oklahoma? Why is this just yet another, just bad situation we have ourselves in? And I think that's what's going to happen across Tennessee is there's going to be a lot of people who are pissed off because, again, you had your next guy. And in college, you're going to have a guy for 2 to 3 years. And when he shows up, you take advantage of it. And that's where a lot of people are frustrated because that was taken away from them.
Yeah.
I agree.
We'll
I
see.
agree.
We'll see. Like I said,
I think there's a lot of stuff
we
that's
saw
coming this
everybody.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Go
today's
ahead.
Monday.
Continue. Yeah.
Let's see where we at on Friday or Saturday. It
Yeah.
might even
Yeah.
be longer than that. You guys got to remember the portal opens on the 16th, and then it's things gonna be flying around and stuff's gonna be jumping off the table. So we'll see.
And listen, man, and I'm not even going to sit here and tell you I'm not going to tell you I think I know everything. I'm going to tell you there's enough things going on, enough things being said on both sides of this that there's no way that you can know for sure that this is all either side's fault. In fact, I don't think it's necessarily either side's fault. I think it sucks for both sides. I really do. I think it sucked for Nico.
Yeah.
I think that Nico did what he had to do, and I think that so did Tennessee. For that matter, if it really came down to money and Tennessee felt like they had to do that, then they had to do that, right? But as far as Nico goes,
right,
if it was about the offense not changing and he can't see himself succeeding and getting to the numbers where somebody said his stock plummeted for the NFL. I mean, all it takes is one 3,000-yard, 30 touchdown year, and that goes right back up. And it doesn't really matter where you get it either. It doesn't really matter where you get it either. So
it sure don't.
And you're seeing some Tennessee fans in here saying that they were not huge fans of the play calling last year, and that's a couple different ones. And we saw it. They looked really, really good against NC State. They came in here against Oklahoma. That was the first time that they didn't have the high-flying offense, and they were literally playing one-sided football because they didn't have to do much on the defensive side of the ball. All they had to do is just stand in place and let Jackson Arnold turn the ball over. And so, let's see. Again, everybody has had an excuse for Tennessee's quarterback play for quite a long time. And I just say you get your new shiny toy taken away, and it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 50, you're going to be frustrated by it.
Yeah, and how did Nico have to do this? If he was lied to about the offense being changed and it wasn't going to happen, or if they told him that they were going to bump his money up, which I believe could have happened too, then either way, you cannot blame these kids for leaving over money when you know damn good and well you would. As a person that has anybody that's had a job ever you're going to tell me that you wouldn't leave for an extra $10,000? I know better. We're talking about another $1.5 million. So don't give me that shit. You can't say it and really be serious about it.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, it just is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, guys, hey man, I appreciate both you guys coming in. Ortiz, tell us how to find you more. I mean, do you have a show, or I know that you're doing a lot of training and stuff like that, but we'd love to have you on again, man. You did a great job.
I don't have a show. Nah, man, I don't have a show, man. But I'm on my Instagram is OBYF23. That's my IG for my foundation. I got a 501c3 nonprofit that helps get our underprivileged communities to get these kids on college tours and get them around the country to get some growth and be able to be part of elite camps. Again, that's OBYF23. That's our IG, and then One Body. The numeric number 1 body, S as in Sam, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, is my IG. Is the gym IG. So we got some good stuff going on, and that's where you can reach me in the social media world. The Twitter is Ortiz Jenkins 16. So those are the areas where I can be reached. And like I said, we'll be around. We got some good stuff coming up, some camps coming up. We'll be at Wayne State. I got a group of kids going to the Wayne State mega camp and then down to SMU for their mega camp in the later months of May and June. But I'll be out in Oklahoma too on the 28th to do a showcase workout for Jaden O'Neal at Mustang High School as well.
Yeah, before you go, what do you feel about the deal with Jaden? I know you and Cooper kind of talking about it. I've been kind of going back and forth, but what are your feelings there on that situation? Do you see him ending up at Oklahoma?
We're gonna stay locked in where we're at with what we got going on. We have to continue to. It's my job as his manager to make sure that I'm proactive in this recruiting process. We've been committed to Oklahoma. We moved from Los Angeles, California, to Mustang, Oklahoma, to
Yeah.
be closer to the process, to have to build relationships, to get in there and start learning and get acclimated. Things have changed on their end and their pursuit of wanting to bring in 2 top tier quarterbacks in the class, which has never really been done. Somebody please show me a stat or show me where 2 top 15 or top 20 quarterbacks in the same class has been brought in, or show me one school right now that has 2 quarterbacks in the same class. There ain't. So ideally, respectfully, Coach Buck was a good dude. I got a chance to meet him. You like what you like, fellas. And I tell people all the time, there can be top 10 quarterbacks around the country, but everybody likes their 10 differently, right? And they
Yeah.
rank their 10 differently. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the elephant in the room, and keeping it real, is that the relationship has not been what it was before. And it's not the recruit's job to make that relationship better. It doesn't work that way. Or you can say, listen, we're gonna go in this direction and let us, and then be transparent and straight up and honest and say we're gonna move in this direction. Has that been done or not? We're yet to see. Jaden got invited to the spring game. He was out there, but that's the first time he's been on campus since he's been in Mustang, which ironically they've been there for a month and a half. Is a little bit weird to me. And I'll tell anybody this to their face, coaches included. It's nothing. With the problem with everybody is nobody really wants to stay straight up what it is. But they're stuck on, we need 2 quarterbacks in the room. We got to get 2 arms. We got to get 2 arms. So we'll see how it plays out. You know what I mean? We got to go where we are loved and wanted. That's the way it works. And if it doesn't feel the same, then you might got to go somewhere else.
Right.
But right now we're locked in. I mean, we're still locked in. Jaden is really concentrating on having the best year he can have at Mustang, and being a leader on and off the field, and being the best quarterback that he can be. We're working with Jeff Christensen, Patrick Mahomes quarterback coach. We got some work in with him. I've worked with him, and we're just going to continue to focus on the process and loving the process. And that's the film study, getting better as a player, being on top of your craft. These are the things that we going to focus on that's going to help him be the best player he can be. And everything else is going to fall in line, because there's been a lot of disrespect when it comes to the type of player that he is, the skill set that he is. And they'll see. When you line them up, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So we're excited about this new opportunity. He loves the community of Mustang. They've treated him really well, him and his family really well, embraced him as a player, as a person. And we're excited about the opportunities that comes with that.
And now I'm a little ticked, because I was just talking to Jaron, and he said he's masterminding this from behind the scenes. So you guys playing us like puppets here.
What do you mean?
No.
What do you mean?
No.
No,
You kind of broke
I'm
up.
just.
You broke up a little bit.
No, busting chops. Busting chops.
I was saying I'm kind of ticked, because I just texted Jaron, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm a mastermind. I set this whole thing up. I feel like I'm getting played here."
No. There's it's breaking in and out, but there's no playing. There's no playing going on, fellas. It's a serious thing. And what I would tell you like this, man, is that people got to understand. You got to value. What I told one of the coaches yesterday was this, and I'm serious about this part. Jaden is still an 18-year-old human being kid, right? And he got feelings and he's got emotions, and people got to remember that. Like, you go through this process thinking that you're loved, you're told, hey, you're married to us, this is what we're going to do, so on and so forth, whatever the case might be. And then all of a sudden that whole narrative changes. That's a lot, man, especially when you thought that, this was it. You know what I mean? Jaden was Oklahoma everything. Jaden went to the Texas football camp with an Oklahoma backpack on. He went to the Texas football camp last summer with a Oklahoma backpack on throughout the whole time. So he's always been all OU. The problem is, nobody wants to say it, is they wanna venture and they want to get Bo Bentley. Bo Bentley has an official visit set up with nobody else on the visit. Let that sink in. The week before we get out there, there's nobody else on the visit as of now. Now that can change, gentlemen. It's a lot. There's a lot of time between now and that particular time. But as of now, the way the narrative is set up is that all in on Bo Bentley. Just think about it. And listen, I'm just look at it. What the problem is people don't want to do is just look at it, look at what it is. It's exactly what it is. The communication is lackluster. It's not like he's talking to Buck every week or the quarterback coach every week. It's not that. So the writing is on the wall, and a lot of people don't want to understand what that is. I'm just being honest and truthful. A lot of people want to blow smoke or say, "Oh no, it's just the way that we do things." Listen, when you're recruiting a kid, and a kid knows if you really, really want him to be there, fellas, and that's how it was up until we committed and up until all of this stuff started happening, and now it's in that weird state. And it's weird for the people that don't know it. It ain't weird for me. It's just real. And the realness is, at the end of the day, is they're going to go all in on Bo Bentley because they got Jaden committed, because they want to bring in 226s. And that's just what they're stuck on doing it. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
Any more questions on that?
Nope. I'm good.
I know that you're.
I appreciate your.
I know that you're straight shooting.
Yeah, I love it.
Say it again. I can't hear you guys are both talking at the same time.
I say that I know that you're straight shooting, and I also know that you're not fully letting loose too. So you obviously know that I'm fairly intimate with this also, and I hate it.
I would tell you that I'm glad about the straight shooter part. We do that on this show. That's how we roll here. So I'm glad that I'm glad that you're.
Listen, this is one of the first podcasts that I've been on. Jaron asked me to do it based upon the fact that he respects the way that you guys operate. And the bottom line is and like I said before, it has nothing to do with the O'Neal side of it. But anybody in this world, in this country, in the state of Oklahoma, anywhere in college football would be a fool to think that two quarterbacks in the top 10, the top 15 class are going to go to the same school.
Yeah. I think it's
clear. Let me give you a quick example, and I'm gonna leave you guys with this one. Jaden O'Neal, Bo Bentley both come in. They're cool. Okay? They get their dorms. Jaden's got a tight end, Bo's got a receiver. You think that those guys aren't connected to the hip as their roommates and they're bonding and building? What happens to your locker room? When some like him and some don't like him, and right? So now you gotta deal with all that shit, right? We talked about fit and finance. Then how you gonna pay both of them?
And especially now that you're gonna have you've got your rev share plus. I mean,
you got your revenue share shit coming in. It's a clusterfuck, man. Like at the end of the day, if you need an arm, there's a way to get arms. There's walk-ons to get arms. You can go get a 1-year rental out the portal as an arm. You know what I mean? I understand the 25 class is pretty much done, so they don't really want to dab into that. There's other ways to do it. But bringing in top 2-tier guys, to me, it ain't about competition, fellas. It's not that. Show me another program in the country, another stellar program, another historic program like the University of Oklahoma is in college football that's doing it. Give me one.
Yeah,
You can't. That's my point.
It doesn't happen.
It's not
It
going to
doesn't
work.
happen.
It's not going to work out. Yeah.
Well, only one of them is going
So
to be
we'll
there.
see.
That's for sure. So I mean, we know that. I mean, it's.
Only one of them
You
has a
hope one of
chance.
them's gonna be. You hope
Yeah.
one of them is gonna be there.
I was going to
That's
say.
what
I
you
was
hope.
going to say. Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. You better hope you get one
Because
of them.
you mess around with fire, you get your ass burnt.
True.
Think
Which
about
is
it.
the same
Because
situation.
you keep playing around with it, and that's hey, this is what we doing. And again, I'm all about you got to protect the brand. Nobody's bigger than the brand. If you're gonna bring in 2 guys, blah 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 blah. Okay, well then we'll see what happens. Maybe there's a backup plan. I don't know. If they do the right thing, we are in Mustang, Oklahoma. They are 25 minutes away from the campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should end because that's the same shit we saying. Like, damn, we're speechless. But the 28th is gonna be a good day. Jetty's gonna do a workout. Hopefully, Nagy can get out there and come see him live because he said he hadn't seen him live throw, and they'll be able to see him get out the showcase. I'll be out there. Jeff will be out there. We're gonna have we'll have a nice showcase when they can get on the road, and we'll see how it goes.
Right. Well, hey man, we appreciate you joining us, being so straightforward with us about this stuff as well, man. And you're
Sir, of course.
Appreciated everything about your insight into what's going on with recruiting and all over the country, and obviously with this deal with Nico Iamaleava. I think it's obviously this week you're going to see a lot of things go down this week when it comes to the Nico front. I would think.
A lot of things.
Hopefully everything's good with Big Dave. He was supposed to be on here this morning with us too, so didn't hear anything from him. But maybe we'll get him on tomorrow night with us as well. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming in. Coop, anything else you want to add before we get out of here, man?
Yes, sir, man. I'm good, guys. You guys are great, man. If you need me, that's like you guys got my information. Yeah, Big Dave's my boy too, man. I grew up with him too, so it is a tight knit circle of the real ones out here on the West Coast. So it's good stuff. Love the show, man. If you need me, guys, give me a holler.
Hey, man, appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. Thanks a
All
lot,
right,
everybody,
guys.
for coming in.
Yes,
Make
sir.
sure you hit that like button on your way out. And Coop, last chance here. Anything? Make sure you at least tell everybody how to find you before we go.
Yeah, check us out, Unfair Sports. I want to say one last thing about the Jaron O'Neal situation because the Jaden O'Neal, sorry, not his dad. Listen, I love this family. This family is terrific. Everything about it is terrific. What kind of has turned into this situation is Arbuckle coming in. He's going to go after his own guys, right? We're going to hear 45
which is
times.
Understandable, right? Yeah.
You're going to hear 45 times every weekend during the fall that, this is now that he's got his guys in here, and whether it's NFL or college football. But I say this is, Jaden committed to, a previous regime. You bring in Arbuckle. Arbuckle is very, very highly thought of right now. And he went and he diagnosed and, found a guy that in Bo Bentley who was somebody that he wanted for an extra arm. But when you have Cam Ward and you have John Mateer, people start understanding some of the words around, Ben Arbuckle being a great quarterback coach, an up-and-comer. And Bo Bentley just happened to be a fast riser. So I saw, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I see the question in the chat, is I fully think that Arbuckle went out to really add just another arm. It just turned out because of who Arbuckle is and what Bo Bentley is as far as a fast riser. Now, all of a sudden, it became 2 high-end quarterbacks in the same class. Now, I will say this. There is a world where we get neither of these guys. I think Jaden O'Neal's probably gone. If you ask me, Cooper, are you putting your money? I'm putting on the fact that he's going somewhere else because all in all, he is not receiving the communication from the staff. And I think it's almost like we're keeping communication going with the family, but it's not to the point to where what you would be doing for your program, cornerstone quarterback. I'll say this, is Bo Bentley's not a guarantee either. There's a very real world where we're looking at new quarterbacks here in a couple weeks, that are neither named Jaden O'Neal or Bo Bentley. Right, wrong, or indifferent, this ended up coming to a bad situation. And I think that I'm not super thrilled on how the staff has handled it to this point.
No, and I would say that that's a fair thing to say because, Mac, you're saying, I think Ortiz knows that OU has moved on. OU hasn't moved on. They've yet to say one time to this kid that we're going in another direction. They keep telling him we're going to take 2 quarterbacks. So they haven't moved on, at least not as far as they're telling him. If you're the O'Neal family, what would you think other than they're trying to hold on to us just in case they don't get Bo Bentley, and then we'll see kind of what happens after that.
That's what it looks like because it is and again, you have to think this is basically like a wish version of the Nico situation right now.
Correct.
To where it is the managing of the quarterback position in college football. The only part with Ortiz that I disagree with is I don't think that we were targeting 2 high-end quarterbacks. We were targeting a low-end quarterback who just happens to turn into a fast riser and a guy who's getting a lot of attention from a lot of different programs. Right. I don't know and I would say this is Jaron showed me a video of the excitement that Norvell down in Florida State showed when Jaden pulled up on a golf cart. That's what I want my kid to be celebrated as, not a guy on a group text where his OC is not participating. And so I don't think that this is a deal to where, you did Jaden dirty. I think it's a deal to where you didn't place him in the spot that you should have. And you just got lackadaisical and maybe got a little bit too sure of yourself in the situation, especially with all the stuff, moving to Oklahoma, moving here, when it all boils down to it. And I've told Jaron this the same way, the O'Neal family, whatever you need from me, whether you end up in Norman or you end up somewhere else, I will take care of you. And right. This relationship, which was started by PG&J, so they are the guys founders of it.
Succeed no matter if they come to Oklahoma or not. I think that we've all kind of had contacts with some of these kids over the years. Nigel Smith, I remember we had the interview with him together on the show, and we weren't sure that he was coming to OU, but never once did we push that because we just wanted to go. We wanted to see these kids go to the best place for them, period. And so to me, do I think that Oklahoma's future is bright at the quarterback position? I do. I think that you've got good quarterbacks. I think you got a good quarterback right now. You got a good quarterback that's backing him up in Michael Hawkins. And I think that either one of these kids, whether it be Bentley or O'Neal, would be fantastic. The problem is that what I don't love is that it doesn't feel like you're being straightforward and honest with them. And that's what we're asking for. And we just got done talking about all this stuff with Nico and whether or not he's being honest and whether or not Josh was being honest. And the truth is, we don't know. And again, I think it paints a picture, you know what I mean? And I love Oklahoma and I love Coach Venables and everything about it. I would love to see them at least just be straightforward with the guy. If he's not in your plans, then say that.
And again, I don't think that it's a situation where he's not in the plans. I just think what it is He has a certain, I mean, Arbuckle has a certain style. He went out there, and again, when it all boils down to it, I'm going to love this team and I'm going to support this team. I don't have to agree every single thing. I don't agree with everything that my wife does. I don't agree with everything that you tell me. I don't agree with everything that Jay comes up with because I'm not a yes man. I have a brain, I think. So as long as you guys go out there, and that's what makes college football so great, is the fact that like we all have brains, we all think differently, we all operate differently, and we just put a camera in front of us and talk about it, and then you guys show up here and join us. This is literally just a group text with some video on it. It's like I love doing this because it does give us an opportunity to get out here and have a have a good amount of, conversation. I'd rather talk about this than talk about some of the other crap that is out there in the world, and sports do give us. Now, that being said, it's still ran by people, and it's still played by people, and it's still affected by people, and that's going to, which is pretty much going. I saw Neilio's response too. That's pretty funny. But when it all comes down to it, Arbuckle wants Bo Bentley.
Yeah, I get it.
I got after PG a while back because we were in the situation to where Jaden was potentially coming on, and at that point we had Jaden, Sperry, Hawkins, Arnold, and he had the next 6 years of our quarterback. I think that you were on that show, Jason.
I was pissed off about that day too. Whenever he made that comment about Sperry and all that whole deal. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I just am always a little bit less inclined to go and do that nowadays is because what the team looks like right now versus what the team's going to look like at this point next year, it fluctuates so much more than it's ever done. And you're not going to have guys giving announcements saying for the next 3 to 4 years, I'm going to play my college ball. Like they literally just, it's a 1-year agreement. That's what you really need to start thinking of this as, is every single player that comes here, if they are worth their weight in salt, they're a 1-year player. And if you can redo them for the next year, and you do that. And the same thing with the coaching staff. It is a year-by-year situation, because we've seen people, Frank Solich, Mac Brown, get fired after really, really great years, and then the program just go into, a miring pit of despair for quite a while. And so it's a year-by-year deal. And if you say this program looks good for the next 6 years, I mean, you're setting yourself up for some massive disappointment.
Yeah. I think that they've played this not perfectly. I think that look, I think that if you want to know who I think the best player is, I think it's Jaden O'Neal. But I don't have any say in this matter. Coop doesn't have any say in this matter. This isn't, but I will say this. I can tell you that there's no way in hell that either one of these kids would, if they felt like it was that the other guy was the guy, and I think that we all feel like it's, Bentley is Arbuckle's guy. I mean, I think that's clear. And I don't think that there's any way that you can expect Jaden O'Neal to come with him and waste a year of his life instead of going in somewhere that he's wanted, like what we saw, yes, on that video when he showed up and they're waiting on him at the golf cart. And they look like the program to me. The only thing that was missing was cheerleaders in the band.
Yeah.
And Darnell, ESU, we just want to welcome you. You know what I mean? So it was.
It's and so here's the thing is also, because I see the question, who's the better player? Nobody knows, because they have not thrown a damn football in college football yet. And if you were to ask me,
I think everybody's going to have their own. Everybody's got their own preferences. I'm not saying that I'm wrong or that Arbuckle's wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I like O'Neal better.
Yeah. Now, and it's also, I mean, who's to say that in 3 years that Ben Arbuckle's going to be here? And who's to say that somebody who wants a little bit more of a prototypical pro-style quarterback isn't going to be here? So so here's my final answer on it, is for what Arbuckle wants to run, Bo Bentley fits the mold better. Who's the better quarterback? Again, we all thought Nico, and we're having this conversation going into the year last year. Jackson versus Nico.
I love this. Yeah.
Jackson versus Nico. Now neither of those dudes play at that university.
Wow. That, again, and I'll say this one more time too. This stuff that's gone on with Nico, this is going to seem mild in a year from now. Watch.
I mean, just think about it. Does anybody remember the shit that happened with Jalen Rashada last year? You know, Rashada is a guy who was in that class too, who was supposed to be one of, another one of those guys. And Malachi Nelson, same situation. You have all these guys who come out and they're playing in these camps and they're doing these big things and they're doing this great stuff. And then what happens? You got to go do it on the field, and you got to do it in front of 90,000 people, and you got to do it against an SEC defense, and you got to do it while other players are having these thoughts and these conversations. So, do I like where Oklahoma's at right now? I like where we could be. I think that completely pissing down our legs for this quarterback, decision in 25 is a big deal because you got to do it soon, because that's a big cornerstone of your recruiting pitch to these guys is who the quarterback is. And instead of one or the other doing big things to help recruit for this team right now, neither of them are.
Yeah, I agree. I wish the best to any of them. Doesn't matter. I just hope they get one of them for sure. I would agree with you there. And whichever one doesn't end up at Oklahoma, or if even if both of them don't end up, I mean, I think that sucks for OU, but I'll say this. I want the best for the player, And I've said this before. I mean, I've said this before. I really like Bo Bentley too. I don't think he's got the same arm that Jaden has, but I think that he's got some other things. He's a runner type, he's going to run and get around out of the pocket and do some of that kind of stuff. I get it. But I don't know that you can't teach 6'4" and rock it like that. You can't.
No.
And
you can't. And especially
watch his last game in California, he had 7 touchdown passes. 7.
He models his game after CJ Stroud. I think that he's doing pretty good for himself.
He is. No, I was talking about, but Jaden had 7 touchdowns in his last.
Oh, no. That's what I'm saying is like, yeah. But at the same time, like, I mean, if I'm saying like you had to insert one of those two guys into this team this year, I think I go a little bit more towards what does the team look like around it? Because I think that if you give, you give Jaden O'Neal a couple of studs at wide receiver, and that guy can cook and he can get out there and do some things. But until we see the receiver room stay healthy and the offensive line do some good blocking, I'd rather have somebody who can scoot around.
Yeah.
And so where does the team go? Who's here in 3 years? Those are questions that, again, we always going to have to do. And you've even seen the.
Well, you're not going to keep them around anyways, right? You're not. I mean, how many quarterbacks think about this as a whole. How many quarterbacks are starting and ending their career at the same place in college now? I mean, we just saw it again. I mean, we're seeing it again with Nico right now, but the two quarterbacks that played for the Natty last year were both transfers. Think about the year before. Only one of them wasn't a transfer. That one, obviously, what's his name from Michigan? He was at Michigan the whole time. But you're seeing this more and more. And so,
trying to pull up that list of quarterbacks again, because I mean, you look at the quarterbacks leaving right now. You've got Cam Ward, who's a transfer, a multi-time transfer. Yep. You're going to have Shedeur Sanders, who was a transfer. Right. You're going to have Quinn Ewers, who is a transfer. I mean, all these guys are going to end up being that way because, again, I think that there's a little bit on both sides. Is you bring in a dude who is going to potentially do, JT Daniels transfer like 47 times.
48 times. Same with the kid from Bishop Gorman that went to Ohio State and then Miami and then what was his name again? I always forget it until I'm not thinking about his name, but he was on the QB1 show too with the same year that Spencer was.
Oh yeah, I'll have to think.
You know who I'm thinking about.
The thing is I mean, these transfers are going to happen. You're going to go
absolutely.
For
Malachi Nelson's on school number 3 now. He's been in college for 3 years. He's in school number 3. He's at G5 UTEP, but yeah.
Same thing.
We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long that one lasts too. But yeah, they're in CUSA. So, but again, look, I would just say that you never know what's going to happen with these guys. And the truth is that it doesn't. I mean, Dante Moore is at his second school. He was actually committed to Oregon, went to UCLA, and then went back to Oregon. You know, that was a number one guy. Jackson Arnold was the number one guy, or if it wasn't Arch, it was Jackson. But Jackson won Gatorade Player of the Year. He's already at another school. You know, it happens.
Yeah. The wrap up, Jason, is I think that there's a very likely scenario where OU loses Jaden O'Neal here in the next couple weeks, and there's going to be a bunch of people going out. There's going to be a bunch of people saying, you know, throwing shade at the kid. There's going to be a bunch of people throwing shade at the university. I don't think you can throw shade at the kid.
You can't throw shade at the kid on this one. It has nothing to do with him if he doesn't show up here.
And it's not a situation where his dad said, "Hey, I don't feel the love," and I've had lots of conversations and I've seen lots of stuff, and it's just a situation where, and I'm not saying that nobody from the university has talked to him. You know, Todd Bates talks to him, Brent Venables talks to him. He just doesn't hear from the OC, and that's
the one that matters. That's the one that matters, right? He chooses the quarterback. Yeah, listen, and I'm not even necessarily saying, man, I understand where Arbuckle's coming from. He wants his guy. I get it.
And again, I just think it's a situation where you got.
But it's never going to be Jaden's fault. It's never going to be Jaden's fault, though.
Oh,
if
no.
he doesn't show up at Oklahoma.
No, there shouldn't be smack, and there's going to be all kinds of different stuff. And I'll say this too. You saw it with Ortiz there, and in talk. These guys aren't going out and just blasting the university. They're trying to advocate for Jaden and the family in a respectable manner while still showing some of their frustration and disgust.
Can you blame them? Can you blame them?
In the world that we live in now, I mean, let's be honest, Jason, we're a bad situation away from Brent Venables and Arbuckle and everybody being gone next year. I mean, that's still a very real possibility. Do I think it's possible? Do I think it's going to happen? No. But
I also think that it would have to be worse than like last year. I feel like for them to actually pull the trigger on dumping $35 million contract for him and all that. We've talked about that a lot. I don't know how in true danger Coach V is, but listen, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't be in true danger if that offense looks like shit again.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going with it is, so let's not get all up in arms about one of two guys who we have still never seen play football at Oklahoma. Never, you got to go. We got to go handle business in the transfer portal, get a couple pieces. That's where we are as a program right now. But also know, like you're going out and getting a free agent. This person is tied to what you can offer them, and we are tied to what they can offer us. It is not about, dreams of playing for Oklahoma and shit like that anymore. Like whenever I hear those types of things, I'll say his girlfriend goes to school here. That doesn't mean crap to me. His parents played ball here. That doesn't mean crap to me. He grew up an OU fan. That doesn't mean crap to me. Sign on the line, show up and play ball. And then that's when I believe that you like
there
the
you
school.
Go. I agree with that. I agree. Listen, you brought it up, man. You brought it up. All right, guys.
Jason, this is a looming story, and I'd like for everybody on here to go, no, you know what? These guys were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and so we know what's going on. This is okay.
I've been kind of waiting on it too. I've been kind of waiting on it a little bit because we've had some conversations, but obviously you and I back channel a little bit. Chris Mason and I, same thing. We kind of have been seeing what's going on. I haven't wanted to bring it up. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but I also don't. I mean, obviously, at some point, we had to have a conversation, and I am appreciative of the O'Neal family for their trust in us. And I mean, Jaron was, Ortiz is on here because of Jaron, and we appreciate that. You know what I mean? And he's reached out to me just because he enjoys the show. I had no idea. You know what I mean?
I will say this. I do this. The number one reason why I do this now and do these podcasts and try to keep myself ingrained is so that I can know what is legitimate. Because there's so much stuff out there. And so, Jay, love you, brother. Thanks for hopping in here.
Yeah.
I just 100% know this, that there's conversations going to go all over the place, like the Nico situation. And it's, well, what's true and what's fabricated, what's what's exaggerated. I follow these things so that I can know, and then I don't mind sharing what I've learned, right? That's kind of what I want to do. I also enjoy the respect that these kids, Toa Katoa, I basically had to threaten this 360-pound man to quit calling me sir, in our DMs back and forth together, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's the relationships, right? It's Daniel Akinkumi still says, yes, sir. And I'm like, bro, knock that crap off. Just call me jackass or something like that. I don't care what you call me. Just quit with the sir stuff. But that's why I do it. So, last question here is do I feel more comfortable out after the spring? Jason, I would say this is I am more basing my thoughts on hype and facts. Last year we heard a lot of the hype. We knew the defense was going to be better. We got ahead of ourselves with the offense and what Jackson Arnold could become. We've seen John Mateer do all these things. Jackson Arnold news out of Auburn, still turning the ball over a lot. Deuce has not turned the ball over. So there's a chance Jackson Arnold never plays a snap at Auburn. Or there's a chance that he fails in Norman and loses the job there. But I feel very, very good about this team this year because I think that you have somebody who has done what it takes at quarterback. He has upgraded weapons around him. I think that this offensive line is going to be sneaky good. And I think that it can continue to get better throughout the rest of the year. I think if you have a plan in offensive line and an identity on an offense, you're going to see the team rise. And so I think that you're still a couple places in the transfer portal we need to go out and add some depth. And that is 100% based off of places like tight end and kicker, to where you're you got people, but do you have difference makers? And so I feel better going into this spring than I did last year. Plus now you're going to be queuing up, I think it is 8 total first-time starters at quarterback, between guys like an Arch Manning, who has played a little bit but now is playing more. And then you've got Nussmeier, you've got Lenora Sellers, and that's pretty much it as far as returning quarterbacks that you're going to be playing. And I don't care about Illinois State's quarterback. I don't really care about Temple's, but Temple's is new starter. Right. You're going to get a new starter in Michigan.
Yeah, and that's good for this team. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Nico did the Oklahoma fans a favor, I think. Hey man, it's we'll talk about this more, and like Jay said in there, the conversation had to be had. You can still love your team and not agree with what they did in this situation. I can say we're both there. I haven't been wanting to really broach the subject just yet, but I think if I was going to do it with anyone, I would rather do it with having you guys, you here, Jay watching or whatever, and or here as well. But knowing that
Cortez too,
Cortez being here and being so close to the situation for sure, that Ortiz being here, it was just important. I thought it was important, so I appreciate him coming on and being so straightforward about it as he was. I think that it's like I said in there. I said it in the chat a few minutes ago. You got to kind of read between the lines here as to what's being said, and it's just pretty clear to me that that's kind of where we're at.
So it looks like we've got a Nico sighting in Penn State.
Nicholas to Penn, really?
I would not. I don't believe that in a heartbeat. I mean, they've got Drew.
Well, I didn't think of Penn State. We talked about Penn State a little bit on Saturday, but not really.
Well, I mean, Drew Aller is
their next guy. Is he not? Quarterback. Is he not?
Yeah, he's the next guy who looks like he's going to be somebody who doesn't turn out to be anybody. He ends up to be a guy who can't make a clutch throw in the clutch. And I don't think that I mean, listen. if Penn State did that, they would basically be telling the Drew Aller camp, you are what's holding us back. You are what's holding us back.
Chrissy, where the hell are you at? That's funny. That's some funny ass shit. Urban Engine, yes. What are you saying that to? What did you say last? I'm trying to see. I'm not seeing it here yet. Well, yeah, that's wild, man. That's wild, though. Huh. Well, we'll see. We shall see. Oh, yeah. I knew you were referring to Jay there, Kimberly K. I was just going to leave that alone. I was just going to leave it alone. I know you said he looks healthy and better, and he's not better. I don't think he's better from what we're hearing.
Every single bit of what he was getting away from here is
You
starting
got that look over your shoulder syndrome.
The Deuce Knight, and again, Deuce Knight has from what I've been told and then read a few days later, Deuce Knight has been way better than expected. A lot further along. He has got a cannon for an arm, and then when he can't get it done, he can take off.
Talking about him. Dent was talking about him playing as an 8th grader on his 7-on-7 team. He said we had a guy that he was a junior and wasn't getting it done, and he comes up and we put him in, and he said that dude was a straight dog. He goes, believe me, he's not walking into that locker room thinking he's number 2.
Oh no. And then they've got the other kid. Was it the Ashton something? I think he's out of Stanford or something like that.
They're liking him too. Apparently, they like him too. I was reading all that.
So I would say this: Jackson Arnold to Texas Tech might be another rumor that we get before too long, because he can't go SEC. Neither can Nico. Keep that in mind when we're talking about this stuff. I mean,
I know that's what we were.
Several teams.
I think it definitely rules out them. I could definitely see Penn State but that definitely. I don't know. That must mean that Drew Aller's going to be in the portal soon. You know.
Well, listen here. This is where it's a continued domino effect. If you see,
there's going to be dominoes. Baron Morton, if it was Texas Tech, Baron Morton's out.
If you see Nico show up in college, in Penn State, like if you're the Aller camp immediately, you're bouncing.
Yep. Before you even have a shot to keep you around. Yeah.
You're bouncing mentally, because right there, that's a situation to where, again, how do you take care of your program, the optics around it and stuff like that? Because we're sitting here talking about, the Bentley, Jaden O'Neal stuff, and those are two guys that neither of them are part of the university. You've got an ingrained starter who's probably going to be projected as a high NFL round draft pick. Just like all the other Penn State quarterbacks, and you're rolling in another guy because you're not bringing in Nico to add competitive depth at the quarterback position. I mean, you want him to come in and start. That's the only reason why you let him on campus.
See, and Chrissy was in there talking the most shit about Nico, and I bet you he won't be talking that shit about him if he ends up there. Oh man, that's too fucking funny. Chrissy, I told him the last time he was in here, I said, I'd love to be able to tell you don't always say something stupid when you show up, but you do, and he does. Chrissy's he's a trip. He's good. He's good for that. A dumb comment every time when he shows up. But that's why we love him. He wouldn't be Chrissy without it.
Hey, do you want a nice little parting fun story?
I love parting fun story.
In the note on. All right, so for everybody, a little intro into your boy Coop's life is I have a son. He's 7, high ADHD, brilliant, waiting on the autism testing. So life is a journey. Jason, I know that most of the time, if you're a Hall of Fame watcher and Jason's ever said Coop's going to be on here, and then I never showed up, 99% of the time it's because of my son. So this morning,
he's good about playing hooky from the game.
Yeah. So this weekend, I was out cleaning the garage, and I found a Tulsa Drillers replica World Series ring, and I totally forgot about it. Worked for the TV station. We got a bunch of that junk, and so I find it, and I I don't know why. I think I had it in my hand. I walked in to do something and I leave it on my desk. Well, apparently my son walks in this morning and sees it and he's like, hey, this is pretty cool. And I don't care. It's not, I didn't win it and it's not real. So it's not like I have any possession over it. So I don't realize that he pockets it and takes it to school. So when I went off camera earlier, I get a call that his teacher's freaked out because he somehow has, and she knows I played baseball. So in her mind, my son has brought the World Series ring that I have earned to class. And being my son, it was pretty funny. So she's nervous as hell that my son has jacked this, $30,000
ring.
And so I get the call and they're like, are you missing a ring? And I'm thinking, I don't wear a ring. And so I'm like, I'm not missing a ring. And it's like, well, your son has what looks like to be a trophy. And right when she said that, I was like, oh yeah. So pretty fun story. Teacher
a replica. It's a replica one. It's probably worth, $50. Cool.
Maybe probably worth $5.
That's hilarious. Too much. Oh man. That's a good kid already. I already like this kid. Giving pops hell as usual. All right.
Chicken says it right. I should have been like, oh my God, that's not even mine. That belongs to Albert Pujols or, something like that. Like
totally should have, dude. You totally should have done that. That would have been damn funny. But then you would have caused all kinds of shit. Your wife would have kicked your ass, which again, you should have done it just so we could have known about that part. I love it.
There'll be other reasons.
Hey, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on as always, my friend. And we're going to get out of here, guys. Appreciate everybody showing up and hanging out with us for a little while. Man, we've got 300 people in here, 150 of them from Twitter. Folks, if you guys are watching this on Twitter, I much appreciate it. I really do. But hop over to the channel here at HOF-CFB and hit that like and subscribe button. We'd much appreciate it, man. But appreciate everybody coming in, checking us all out. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already done so. And we'll see you all on the next one. I think, maybe.
Ready to level up your mobile game? Check this out.